Let us start today's satsang in Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga, 32nd verse.
Evam bahuvidaha yajñaha vitatha brahmano mukhe karmajan vidditan sarvan evam jnatva vimoksyase.
Evam bahuvidaha yajñaha vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan vidditan sarvan evam jnatva vimoksyase. Translation: thus worship of the divine energies is performed in various ways. In the beginning of expansion, understand that all of them originate in actions. Knowing this, you will be liberated. Sri Krishna is revealing some of the mystical secrets. How various divine energies come into existence, how by connecting with them your expansion is possible. Please understand, one example I wanted to give. Brahma, in Hindu stories, Hindu Purana, Brahma becomes egoistic. So, Shiva's extension comes out as Kala Bhairava and cuts Brahma's head, removes the ego of Brahma and makes Brahma enlightened. This action, Shiva's energy coming out and removing the ego of Brahma and making him enlightened, this action becomes Kala Bhairava. So when you connect with Kala Bhairava and start worshipping the divine energy called Kala Bhairava, he removes your ego also and gives you enlightenment. Same way, Veerabhadra, Shiva's energy expanded and destroyed the collective negativity of Daksha, which causes suffering for himself and for others. Many times, your pain body becomes so strong, knowingly you cause suffering to you and to others. Even though you know you are causing suffering to you and to others, but the pain pattern is so strong, you can't escape. I can see very clearly. So many people, they know if they are out of me, if they are away from me, they are going to create suffering for themselves. But their ego, arrogance is so strong, they can't live. They can't live around me. I have seen so many times, even devotees, they know if they listen to my teachings and live, they will be out of their sufferings and torture they are doing to themselves and to others. But they don't want. Daksha represents the negativity which causes suffering to yourself and to others. Shiva's energy which came out and destroyed the Daksha's negativity is Veerabhadra. Understand? Veerabhadra did not kill Daksha. He gave life back to Daksha. So this energy which destroys your negativity of giving suffering to yourself and to others is called Veerabhadra. If you connect with this divine energy and pray, feel connected, you will see in you also the pain body, the patterns which create suffering for yourself and others will be destroyed. It's a beautiful verse. evam bahuvidaha yajnaha vitata brahmano mukhe karmajan viddidan sarvan evam jnatva vimokshase. Thus, worship of the divine energies is performed in various ways. In the beginning of expansion, understand that all of them originate in actions. Knowing this, you will be liberated. Same way, if you are frozen, closed, then start connecting with Krishna, who is doing Rasa Leela, who just opened himself to the whole universe. Understand? Krishna's Rasa Leela did not happen just with Gopikas. It happened with the plants, trees, rocks, Yamuna, whole thing. And the Purnima Chandra, the full moon, with whole, he had Rasa Leela. His Rasa Leela was enjoyed by the whole existence. Gopikas were also happened to be there, that's all. It was not concentrated towards Gopikas. It was with the whole. So if you are frozen, having the sickening suffocation, many times people do have this sickening suffocation. Come on, then expand. It is time. You meditate on Rasa Leela Krishna. So each action of divine, each action of an incarnation becomes independent energy by itself. Shiva's one action, cutting Brahma's head and giving him enlightenment, it became an independent energy called Kala Bhairava. Shiva's one action of killing the negativity of Daksha and liberating him from negativity and negative patterns became independent divine energy called Veerabhadra. Shiva's one action of teaching in silence to Sanagadi Rishis and giving them enlightenment becomes Dakshinamurti. Just each action of divine becomes one form, one energy. Understand? When Shiva assumed the body and married Meenakshi and ruled this Pandya kingdom, he became Sundara Pandya. That action became an independent energy of Sundara Pandya. Just yesterday, I was reading the Akashic records in the night. I verified again and again. Earlier when I was seeing, I felt he has taken 3 bodies. Yesterday I saw he has taken more than 11 bodies. Only to play in and around Madurai. Please understand, in this way, no other geographical place is equivalent to Madurai. Where Shiva has taken 11 bodies to play just in Madurai. See, in one body he has played in many places. That record is there. When he assumed one body, he has gone to many places and did his leelas. In one body, doing leelas in 11 places, there are enough records. But 11 bodies to do leelas in one place, only in Madurai's history, the record is there. More than 11 bodies he has assumed at different times to play the leelas. The leela he performed, the first body he assumed to perform the leelas in Madurai is marrying Meenakshi. To marry Meenakshi and all the leelas related to that time, marrying Meenakshi and bringing Vaigai to Madurai, all those leelas were performed in one body. That body is directly under the Sundareshwara's linga. The main Garbha Mandir, under the Sundareshwara linga, that body is resting. It is there in Jiva Samadhi. And second, he has assumed one more body to build embankment for Vaigai river and converting all the foxes into horse to save his disciple Manikya. All those leelas, around 40 years he was in that body and performed many leelas. That body is resting in our property near Dinamani Takis. There is a place in Madurai, near Dinamani Takis, there is a Samadhi inside Madurai Adinam property. It is called Sundaranar Samadhi. And Sundarananda's Jiva Samadhi, people used to think it is one of the 18 Siddhas. It is not one of the, of course, it is one in the 18, but Shiva himself assumed the human body and performed. 40 years he was in that body. That body is resting in Madurai, the place Dinamani Takis, opposite to that Takis, there is a property, belongs to Madurai Adinam property. There he is resting. And the third body, which he assumed to give sugar cane to stone elephant, and stone elephant ate that sugar cane. For that Leela, he assumed one more body that is there inside the temple under the Samadhi of, under the shrine of Ellamalla Sittar. Under his Murti, that third body is there. Still, I am not able to trace the other places of the remaining 8 bodies. I could see cosmically where are they, but in the Madurai map I am not able to pinpoint where the remaining 8 bodies are. Soon I will study the Madurai map and overlap my cosmic map on Madurai map and give you guys the exact points where the bodies he assumed are resting and radiating. I tell you, if you see from this angle, no other place, even in Kailash, is only one body is resting. There are 1 lakh enlightened beings' bodies are resting. That is different. But his own, the body which he used, only one body is resting. In Varanasi, 2 bodies are resting. Even in Thiruvannamalai, only one body, Arunagiri Yogeshwara's body, only is resting. I was shocked when I read yesterday the Akashic records. 11 bodies he has assumed. I tell you, Madurai was his honeymoon place. It was his favorite. Somehow, Madurai people had a very close, hearty connection with Mahadeva. Even for small things, he will assume a body. Come here and play. This was the place where he was very playful and joyful, without any of the so-called social laws, regulations, rules, and the dharma which he himself created. Here, he has broken the laws he created as per the planets. He has changed the planets for Madurai people. He has changed the teachings for Madurai people. He has changed the social laws for Madurai people. He has broken all the moral rules for Madurai people. He has done everything possible. Socially accepted, unaccepted, legal, illegal, dharmic, adharmic. In which Shastra it is dharmic? You convert the wolves into horses and sell them, and after you sell and go away, all that fellows, they become overnight, they become again wolf and bite and kill all the remaining horses who are there. And that poor king, is now pauper. In which dharma it is accepted? In which shastra it is accepted? He has done everything possible. He comes down as a worker for the old lady, saying that, see, once there was a flood, huge flood in Vaigai river, and king ordered all the citizens of Madurai should take up one portion and cover it with mud and build an embankment. So all of them have taken up one portion. One old lady, Vandi, her job is that making idli and puttu. Puttu is those days breakfast. She will make all this and sell for people. Still now, in Madurai it is a very popular business. Go out in the night, you will see hundreds of shops. The outside street, they will be making these idlis and selling, breakfast and selling. It is still their tradition. Now it is called Kushbu idli. In those days, it's a tradition of Vandi. So she used to make this pittu and sell. Those days breakfast. She did not get anybody to cover her portion, and she herself can't do. She is too old. She prays to Sundareshwara. This whole city, still now, any problem, the only person they turn to is Sundareshwara. They don't trust anybody else. They just turn towards Sundareshwara. And she's the old lady. She can't get a worker to fill her portion, to do her job. She turns towards Sundareshwara. Oh Chokanada, Sundareshwara. This guy would have just one thought, the whole Vaigai would have had embankment automatically. He does not do that. He comes down, assuming human body and bargaining with that lady. You should give me the pittu as much as I want, but I will work only for 3 hours. He says, I will work only for 2 muhurta. 1 muhurta is 1.5 hours. I will work only for 2 muhurta, but you should give me as much as I want. This poor lady, she doesn't have anybody else. So she says, all right, go ahead. You can see what is puttu. Come on, show me. This is puttu. Those days breakfast. So she doesn't have anybody else. So no other option. She accepts the bargain. This fellow finally finishes eating everything she cooked. After that, it doesn't work. He goes there and lies down in that bed. So he goes and lies down in the banks of Vaigai. I also traced the palace he had in Vaigai. Just in between, the mid of the water, he had a palace where he used to drink with that, all the bhutas. He was not a womanizer. He used to drink and gamble. He will have all these bhutas around and they will play the dice. He will gamble with them. Finally, what is there? Finally, he will cheat all of them. And he was not a womanizer, but he used to drink and gamble. Anyhow, so he went and lie down in the bank of Vaigai. King comes in the evening to see whether the embankment work is done. He sees all parts have been covered except his portion, the Vandi's portion. King got very annoyed and asked whose portion it is. They said this is Vandi, old lady's portion. He asked, naturally she won't be able to do. Who is doing for her? They showed this guy has been employed by her But from morning he is not doing anything, he is just lying there. So king calls him and asks, who are you? This fellow says, who are you to ask me this? King says, I am the king of this Madurai. He says, that is the way so many people are thinking, but actually I am the king. There was a strong argument. Finally, king was very angry and he took his sengol, the golden staff with which he rules the country, and gave a strong blow in the back of Sundareshwara. When that beating fell on Sundareshwara, when that stick fell on the Sundareshwara, at that same moment he showed to the king, he is the Antaryami, he is the indweller of every being, cosmos. So the whole world, whole universe, including himself, had that beating. The whole cosmos, including the king, had the mark of that golden staff, scepter, golden scepter's mark, and king was shocked. There he sees Sundareshwara standing with Meenakshi and smiling. King realized who came to play in the form of a worker, and he fell at the feet of Sundareshwara, asked him to apologize. Then Sundareshwara says, just because of Vandi's feeling connection, to please her, to eat her food, to enjoy her puttu, breakfast, I came and I enjoyed. He liberated, he gives enlightenment to Vandi and blesses the king and disappears. Till the end, he has not done his job. He did not do the job of building the embankment to the Vaigai. Casual leelas, not one or two, 64 leelas. God, I know for sure he would have done at least 64,000. And Paranjodi Munivar, the compiler, was able to collect only 64, representing all the 64,000 of leelas. The body with which he has performed this leela, especially blessing the Vandi and converting the wolves into horses, foxes into horses, that season, around 40 years, he has performed some more leelas. That body was used by him for 40 years. That body is resting in Madurai Adinam's property. I have taken the blessings of the 292nd Guruma Sannidhanam to build that into a beautiful, huge temple. You can see the scene of Sundareshwara coming and eating the puttu of Vandi, the old lady. When I remember, God, this very land, he has taken 11 bodies and walked. These very roads, he would have walked and sold the firewood. These very roads, he has walked and sold bangles. This very road, he walked and sold diamonds. I am really going crazy. This very Vaigai, he created this very Vaigai. He himself came and built embankment, at least acted as building embankment. each action divine energy performs becomes one independent entity. If you connect with that energy, he gives you the same blessing. Understand? Sundareshwara is the energy of Leela, playfulness. Ask him whatever you want. He has broken all the rules. See, there is a law. Only a human body can radiate enlightenment, experience enlightenment. He has broken everything. He has given enlightenment to pigs. He has given enlightenment to bird. He has given enlightenment to cuckoo. He has given enlightenment to swan. Everyone can be assured. He has given enlightenment to pigs. What a Leela. Sundareshwara. Bhagavan explains, Sri Krishna explains in this verse how each action of divine becomes independent existence, a divine energy. Shiva danced for the sake of Patanjali and showed the cosmic dance. That becomes Nataraja, the form of Shiva, an independent energy. Meditate on Nataraja, you will have extraordinary spiritual experiences. Nataraja is the Lord of spiritual experiences. Any yogic spiritual experience you want, meditate on Nataraja. Sri Krishna is explaining the philosophy behind the incarnations are multiple gods, many gods in Hindu religion. Many gods does not mean the ultimate is many. No, the ultimate is only one. Its expressions are many. Eham sat vipra bahuda vadanti. One of the very important philosophical question is answered by Bhagavan Sri Krishna in this verse. God is one, expressions are many.
Paramahamsa Nityananda, a rare living incarnation, is named among the world's 100 most spiritually influential personalities today. Paramahamsa Nityananda has been placed alongside Dalai Lama, Nelson Mandela, Oprah Winfrey, Paulo Coelho and others by Mind, Body, Spirit, the world's top esoteric magazine from Watkins, London's oldest and largest bookstore. A yogi by birth, he has been expressing his power of enlightenment since birth. He has authored more than 500 books in Tamil and English. Translations of these books are available in 26 languages in Telugu, Kannada, Malayalam, Hindi, Sanskrit, Gujarati, Oriya, Bengali, Marathi, French, Malay, Polish, Portuguese, Italian, German, Danish, Spanish, Russian and Chinese. He is also an exemplary speaker with over 10,000 hours of profound life solutions through his discourses. Social services such as Annadan, free medical care, free educational services with ashrams, schools, temples, hospitals established in more than 140 places around the world, offering exceptional services. A powerful spiritual healer who has healed millions of people of diseases from migraine to cancer. A Kriya Yogi who has formulated Kriyas for physical health and mental well-being, benefiting thousands. A living master who offers practical solutions for our everyday problems. He is the founder and spiritual head of Nityananda Dhyanapitham, a spiritual powerhouse who has revived the sacred Vedic tradition by establishing Vedic Vedic temples in places like Los Angeles, San Jose, Seattle, Toronto, Ohio, Oklahoma, Phoenix, St. Louis, Malaysia, Brazil, Paris, Guadeloupe, Dallas, New York, New Jersey, Atlanta, Calgary, Vancouver, Singapore, and places in India like Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Tiruvannamalai. A spiritual guru for 10 million followers, an incarnation who transmits the highest spiritual energy through initiation, a contemporary yogi who has revived the Vedic science of yoga worldwide through thousands of yoga centers, an adept in Ashtamahasiddhis, mystical yogic powers, who has effortlessly awakened the Kundalini of thousands and graced them with spiritual powers, a dynamic young guru who is an inspiration for thousands of youngsters. India's most watched spiritual guru online, a beacon of spiritual light who has triumphed over the forces of religious terrorism and political persecution. Paramahamsa Nityananda is an eternal Kalpataru, blessing the world with the boons of material abundance and spiritual enlightenment.
आनन्दानुभवास्वादं सर्वरोगनिवारकं वन्दे पापविनाशक्तं नित्यानन्दाय स्वागतं नित्यमुक्तं निर्विकल्पं ध्यानलोकप्रदीपकं वन्दे शान्तमयं बन्धं नित्यानन्दाय स्वागतम् आनन्दगन्धसञ्चारं सर्वोपाधिविनिर्मुक्तं वन्दे ज्ञानालयं नाथं नित्यानन्दाय स्वागतम्.
Let you all achieve, experience, live, express, radiate, share and explode in eternal bliss. Nityananda.
Nityananda Dhyanapitham, Nityananda Nagar off Mysore Road, Bidadi, Bangalore 562109. Contact 097422033311. www.nityananda.org.
What I mean by the word e-Kailasa, listen intensely. Enlightenment ecosystem, literally enlightenment itself, in your own home, wherever you are. If you cannot come to Kailasa, it's okay. Kailasa can come to you. Kailasa coming to you is e-Kailasa. I will revive Hinduism. I am a Hindu revivalist, not by any revolution, but by evolution. And setting model communities. Kailasas, enlightenment ecosystems, Sarvanya Pitas all over the world. All powerful cognition, knowledge, only when you live, power manifestation and possibilities manifestation happens. It's a fundamental truth. Hinduism cannot live exclusively as one sampradaya. No. All sampradayas of Hinduism is an ecosystem. So don't keep quiet thinking that if one sampradaya is attacked, only that sampradaya is going to be affected. All of us are ecosystem. I invite all of you to get involved.
Nityananda, welcome back, dear viewers. So let us now enter into the next segment, where we will understand the 64 Leelas of Lord Sundareshwara. Sundareshwara is known for all of his Leelas, all of the divine plays that he enacts just to shower his love, his compassion, his grace on his devotees. So the first Leela was the removal of the crime of Indra. And Indra was the king of the gods and was engaged in attending to the dancers of his paradise when his guru, Brahaspati, came to see him. And Indra was so very absorbed in his pastime that he did not pay proper attention to the guru, nor did he rise to bow down to the Guru. Brihaspati departed in great anger, and in the consequence of Indra's indifferent attitude towards his Guru, he had to lose all his prosperity. And before that, the sympathy of his Guru. Having no longer his beloved Guru, Indra took a three-handed giant Asura for his Guru, but inducing him to make a sacrifice, yaga, he learned bitterly that the new Guru proposed to destroy the gods and to favor his clan. Therefore, Indra killed him, whereby he incurred the sin of Brahma Hatya, the crime of killing a Brahmin. The father of the giant would not allow this act to go unrevenged. He made a yagam from which Dhritarashtra came forth, whom he ordered to kill Indra immediately. The latter struck the giant, but finding that he could not kill him, hid himself in a lotus flower. He then went to Brahma and was directed to a place where an old Brahmin named Sachi had long been performing penance, and was advised to take his shoulder bone, which would suffice for the object in view, since it was molded of a good number of powerful weapons that were entrusted to him. The old Brahmin gladly gave up his life, and Indra, taking his shoulder bone by its aid, killed the Asura. Hereby, the sin of the Brahmahatya was doubled, and in consequence of its burden, Indra again concealed himself in a lotus flower.
And a council of Brihaspati, Agastya, and many other sages advised Indra to go to earth and to bathe in the rivers to remove his incompletions. And he did this without success. He came to the forest of lily, the Kadamba trees, where suddenly he found his burden removed. And being surprised at this, he commanded search to be made around. When the search was done, a lingam was found. The emblem of Shiva was found under a lily tree, the Kadamba tree, and to which he did puja. And so great was his joy that even his speech became confused. And it was a forest where there was no flowers with which he can make garlands. But on looking, he saw a tank with lotus flowers, of which he made garlands from, and its flowers, the tank obtained the name of Pottamare, or the golden lotus.
And the next Leela of Sundareshwara was the removal of the curse of the white elephant. Durvasa Rishi was once worshipping the said image in Silvanam. When he took the lotus flowers and after presenting it to the god, carried it with him to Indra's abode, who was then riding on his white elephant and going to encounter the giant. He respectfully gave it to Indra, who laid it on the head of the elephant between its tusks, but the animal threw it down and trampled it underfoot. For doing so, Durvasa pronounced on it a curse, to the effect that it should become a wild elephant of the woods. But as the animal implored compassion, the period was limited to 100 years. In consequence, when the elephant was in the Tili forest, it one day poured water over the lingam, which on inquiry, learning the nature of the case, told the elephant to place it as Indra, lingam at Airavatam. Having done so, the elephant again became the Vahana, or vehicle of Indra.
And the next is when the mortal discovers Bhagavan Sundareshwara, and when the building of the town of Madurai in the reign of the first king. So in the first time of Kulasagara Pandyan, who ruled in Manapur, a merchant named Tanan Shayan was knighted in a forest of Kadamba trees. Unable to proceed further, he took rest in the foot of one of the trees, and he was surprised at the sight of an unusual splendor. He was blessed by Bhagavan Sundareshwara with the view because he had been very virtuous in a previous birth. It was Monday, the gods were performing homage and anointing the image as though it had been the night of Shiva. The merchant bathed in the tank and worshipped um, the deity, and when the gods disappeared, he saw only the stone image the next day. He went and told the king what he saw. Bhagavan Sundareshwara also appeared to the king the following night in a vision and commanded him to build a temple in the wilderness. The king, finding the vision and the statement of the merchant to be the same, went to the place and had the forest cleared.
And not knowing how to build a temple and town, he had another vision in which Bhagavan Sundareshwara appeared and gave him instructions. Workmen were employed and they built the city with a king's street, a Brahmin street, and also chautries, mandapams, tanks, and more. The city was splendid, with a palace also for the king on the northeast quarter. There was concern as to how all these buildings could be cleaned and prepared for the entrance on an auspicious day. Paramashiva was pleased to remove all the issues by causing Ganga, issuing from the jata on his head, to pour out in the copious stream. He was out of his compassion to give the city the name Madurai, or sweetness, and then disappeared. The king placed deities as guards at the four cardinal points of the city. Afterward, a son was born to him named Malay Dvaja. He succeeded to the king's throne when the king died.
And the next is the incarnation of Devi Meenakshi, the goddess of the temple. So Malay Dvaja Pandyan, although he had many wives, the chief of them being Kanchanamalai, the daughter of the Chola king, yet had no child. So in consequence, he offered 99 Ashwamedha offerings. And when Indra, becoming alarmed, since another offering would entitle the king to the Indra's throne, appeared to him and said, "Why do you give yourself this trouble? Perform the appointed offering for obtaining a child before the temple of Bhagavan Shiva, and you will have your wish granted." While the king was making the sacrifice, a female of 3 years old, a 3-year-old little girl, was born, covered with ornaments, and was born from the flame of the offering. So then the king took up this child and gave it into the hands of his queen Kanchanamali. On her applying the infant to her breast, immediately to milk for its nourishment, manifested herself. And while bringing up the child, it was found out that when she was born, everyone was surprised that she had 3 breasts, on which the foster parents, being afflicted, the voice of Bhagavan was heard from heaven, and bidding them to give the child the same education as for a man, and adding that when her appointed husband should come, then one of the breasts would disappear. When she was grown up, they had her formally installed on the throne, and then Malay Dvaja Pandyan died. So having performed in becoming manner the funeral rites for her foster parents was and worshipped in the temple, and she afterwards ruled the kingdom in a proper manner.
And the next Leela was the marriage of Devi Meenakshi with Paramashiva by the name of Bhagavan Sundareshwara, who we will be having the darshan of very shortly. When the above woman, Tadakai or Invincible, was ruling, her foster mother represented to her the property of marriage, to which she replied that she would assemble an army and go fight with the neighboring kings in order to discover among them her destined husband. Accordingly, her minister, named Sumati, assembled a very large army with which she went and conquered all the neighboring kings. She next conquered Indra and then proceeded to Kailasa, the abode of Bhagavan Paramashiva himself, in front of which she was met by Nandi, the Vahana or vehicle of Bhagavan Paramashiva, whom she forced to retreat. He went and reported the same to Bhagavan Paramashiva as Sundareshwara, who smiling a little and arose and went forth. As soon as he appeared, the third breast on Devi Meenakshi disappeared, at which the warrior princess Devi Meenakshi Shakti herself realized that it was Bhagavan Paramashiva Sundareshwara and realized that that was her husband. And the minister claimed, "This is to be your husband." Bhagavan Paramashiva Sundareshwara told her to return to Madurai where he dwelt, and on Monday he would come to marry her. Desiring all the preparations to be made, all was arranged accordingly, and the gods, superior and inferior, came bringing presents. Devi Meenakshi, was seated beside Bhagavan Paramashiva Sundareshwara on the marriage day. The throne where when Bhagavan Vishnu joined their hands, and afterwards the marriage ceremony was performed amidst the praises and adoration of the rishis and others present. This was a celebration in the entire cosmos, where literally the entire world came for the wedding of Devi Meenakshi and Bhagavan Sundareshwara. Bhagavan Sundareshwara then had a new stone image made for the pagoda as a king, and afterwards ruled over Madurai by the name of Bhagavan Sundareshwara.
And then the next is Lord, the dance of Bhagavan Paramashiva in the silver hall. So after the marriage, the gods, the rishis, and the others were assembled preparing to feast. And prior to this, they all bathed in the Pottamarai tank. And this tank is the tank of the golden lotus. So the rishis said, unless we see Bhagavan Sundareshwara dance, we will not eat. So then the compassionate Bhagavan Sundareshwara danced in the silver temple, while the gods, rishis, and all the others, the numerous people who were present, all the attendants also joined the chorus and chanted his praises.
And the next Leela is the insatiable dwarf Kundotaran. After the marriage feast was over, the mayor of the palace came and said to Devi Meenakshi, "What are the vast quantities of food which you have prepared? Scarcely 1 part out of 1,000 has been consumed. What are we going to do with the rest?" Devi Meenakshi went to inquire from Bhagavan Sundareshwara, who said, It's true that being a queen, you have prepared so much food, but there are several of my retinue as yet unfed. Whereupon, calling a dwarf named Kundotaran, he directed food to be given, saying that when he should be satisfied, others would follow. He then put within him the Vada Muga Agni, a great fire said to govern the sea. A large pit was dug to receive the various eatables, and the dwarf, emaciated with hunger and fasting, and consumed the mountain of food prepared so rapidly that the eye could not follow him. All being gone, he consumed the unprepared materials of food and still complained of hunger. On this, Devi Meenakshi inquired of her Bhagavan Sundareshwara what was to be done, saying, "It is thus that you fulfill your character of the final destroyer of all things." At this, Bhagavan Sundareshwara smiled with complacency, only stating that so many of his hungry followers were still left without food.
And as the hunger of the dwarf was yet unappeased, the hunger of Gundodhara was yet unappeased, the Lord Bhagavan Sundareshwara commanded the earth, Devi Bhumi Devi, to supply him. And accordingly, 4 holes or pits appeared, out of which food spontaneously arose. And the dwarf Gundodhara ate till his body was swollen. He then complained of thirst, and having drawn all the water contained in the wells and tanks, he still complained of thirst. On this, Bhagavan Sundareshwara then commanded the goddess Ganga in his head to supply water. She replied, "You once called me before, and I will come again if you only grant the privilege that whoever bathes in my water shall be purified from the sin." And being which conceded, she brought a most plentiful supply of water in the shape of the river Vaigai, and the dwarf Gundodhara took it all very easily. And now both hunger and thirst being satisfied, he returned to his duty in the retinue of Bhagavan Sundareshwara.
And the next Leela was the Leela where Bhagavan Sundareshwara brought the 7 seas together into one place. Among the rishis who came to greet Bhagavan Sundareshwara was Gautama Rishi, who went to pay his respects to Kanjanamalai, queen of the palace and the mother of Devi Meenakshi. She asked him which was the most excellent penance. He replied, there were 3, one consisting in silently contemplating the deity, one in repeating prayers, and one in going about and bathing in all the sacred rivers, of which 3, the last was the most excellent. But that since it was attended with much trouble to visit all of the rivers, and since all the rivers run into the sea, if she bathed in the sea, the effect would be the same. On this, she announced to her adopted daughter, Devi Meenakshi, her intention of bathing in the sea, and Devi Meenakshi, unwilling to part with her mother, took her Meenakshi, out of her deep compassion for her mother, took her own husband, Bhagavan Sundareshwara, told her own husband, Bhagavan Sundareshwara, who said, to bathe in one sea is a trifle. I will bring all the 7 seas together in one place, and she may bathe there. Accordingly, much to the astonishment of the people, the 7 seas of ghee, honey, milk, etc., came rushing into one tank, still retaining their respective colors and appearing distinct and unmingled.
And the next is when the recalling of Maledwaja from the dead and the transition of Kanchanamali. So on the banks of the said tank that Bhagwan Sundareshwara made a flower garden, and when there he one day said to his wife, "Why does your foster mother bathe?" On this being reported, the elderly lady inquired of learned men the most meritorious mode of bathing. They replied, "It must be either by taking hold of the hand of a husband or a child, or of a cow's tail." On this reply being given, she became greatly afflicted. Having neither a husband nor a child, her foster daughter reported this grief to Bhagwan Sundareshwara, who, by an act of volition, brought back Maledwaja Pandian heaven, from the heaven of Indra, and the shade, on coming, presented his respects to Lord Sundareshwara, Bhagwan Sundareshwara, and Kanchanamala, hearing the arrival of her former husband, came adorned with jewels, and both bathed in the tank, after which they saw Bhagwan Sundareshwara, the Lord, and a heavenly chariot appeared in which both the husband and wife, both Maledwaja Pandian and Kanchanamali, were together carried above to the worlds and to heaven of Indra safely.
And the next Leela of Bhagavan Sundareshwara is the incarnation of Subramanya as Ukrama Pandian. On one day, the Devi Meenakshi came to Bhagavan Sundareshwara and said, "You have assembled the seven seas and have procured the beautification of my reputed parents. But now it occurs to me that it is not worthy of your reign that the Pandyan race should become extinct through want of issue." Bhagavan Sundareshwara, whose height and depth Brahma and Vishnu could not discover, reflecting that he had caused Devi Meenakshi to become incarnate in the person of, that he had caused Devi Parashakti to become incarnate in the Nijavatara of Devi Meenakshi, had now himself reigned a long time as Sundareshwara, considered it was not right to leave the Pandyan race without offspring, and by a simple bearing the resemblance of Paramashiva, reigned, not right to leave, and by a simple volition, he produced in due time the birth of his son Subramanya in the form of a child bearing the resemblance of Paramashiva, which event occurred on Monday in the Tiruvattai Nakshatram, when the planet Jupiter was in the most fortunate station of a good house. When the four Vedas were chanted and the musical instruments sounded and the demigods showered down the flowers, on hearing the news, all the kings came and people came and congratulated the event and gave presents to the town. And according to the Vedas, cast the child's cast the child's horoscope and gave the child the name Ukrama Pandian. And the child was afterwards instructed in all suitable accomplishments by Vihala Bhagavan, Brahaspati himself, and the preceptor of the gods. When the son came to the years of the discretion, the father, hearing the fame of his great acquirements and excellent temper, told his ministers it was time to have him installed and blessed as the king, to which the council then agreed, and were very joyful.
And then the next is when Lord Sundareshwara gets his son married and blesses him with 3 weapons. So Lord Sundareshwara gave orders to his ministers to procure his son a suitable wife of equal nobility. And Kantimati, the daughter of a king named Somashekaran of the Surya Vamsha, who ruled in the town of Manapur, was selected. And the same night that Bhagwan Sundareshwar appeared in the vision to Somashekaran and commanded him to give his daughter in marriage to the son of the king ruling in Madurai, Somashekaran the next day, astonished and delighted, set out for Madurai with his daughter and a great retinue, and was met on the road by the ministers of Sundareshwara, Bhagwan Sundareshwara, that were going towards Manapur, who demanded his daughter in marriage for the son of their king. To which he gladly agreed, and after coming to Madurai, the ceremony was performed, the marriage was performed with great splendor. And while the Chola and Chera kings, gods and demigods, the innumerable and many others were in attendance with all usual accompaniments and great presents, extensive doors and largeness were bestowed. After the marriage ceremony, Bhagavan Sundareshwara gave his son Subramanya the spear, the discus, and the ball, and said, Indran, Mahameru, and the sea are your foes. With the spear you shall overcome the sea. With the ball you shall conquer Mahameru, and with the discus subdue Indran. He then charged the ministers to take care of his son. Bhagwan Sundareshwara charged the ministers to take care of his son as the apple of their eyes, and enjoined his son to follow the advice of his ministers and to break no old customs. He then gave the newly married pair his blessings, and mounting with Tararagai, Devi Meenakshi, an aerial car, while his attendants regained their form of the celestials of Kailasa, he ascended to his own heaven, his own abode, and the son of Bhagwan Sundareshwara ruled according to the laws of Manu thereafter. And then the next is when Varunan is compelled, when Lord Varuna is compelled to retire by the casting of the spear or javelin. So Ukrama Pandyan made a great sacrifice of 96 Ashwamedha yagams, at which Indra, becoming jealous since his rule was endangered, went to the king of seas, Varuna, and asked him to destroy that country. Accordingly, the sea suddenly came with great noise in the middle of the night to the gates of Madurai. And when the king, Ukrama Pandyan, was awakened by Paramashiva, in the guise of a religious ascetic informing him of the circumstances and attendant dangers, the king, being astonished and without presence of mind, was urged by the vision to lose no time, but employ the veil, as he had been directed, and accordingly he went to cast the spear at the sea, which immediately lost its force and retired because Varuna recognized the weapon of his superior. The king then went to the temple, adorning the Lord, and promised that as far as the sea had come, so much land would be given to the temple, and thus he righteously governed the kingdom.
And while Uttarama Pandyan reigned, it happened by the evil influence of happened by the negative influence of the 9 planets, and that there were no rain, and consequently a great drought occurred in the Pandyan, Chola, and Chera kingdom. the respective kings went and consulted the sage Agastya, residing on the great mountain called Swatya, who told them of the influence of the planet, and advised them to go and worship Lord Sundareshwara on a Monday. Accordingly, the three kings came to Madurai and performed the prescribed fasting and ceremonies on the Monday in the temple. And by the compassion of Lord Paramashiva, they were carried to the Svargaloka, the paradise of Indra. The Chola and the Chera kings took their seats at his footstools, and asking for rain were favorably answered and dismissed. But the Pandyan king took his seat on the same level with Indra and made no request. Indra was displeased with a semblance of favor and put his neck a very heavy necklace collar, such as the 5 men could not lift, thinking its weight would crush his uncivil guest. But as the Pandyan king wore it without any emotion, Indra was astonished and dismissed him, only saying, "You shall be called the bearer of the necklace."
And the next Leelas is when, on the Pandyan's return, he found that in his country there was no rain, and in consequence of which he went to Mahameru and put round its summit in chains and brought them to water his kingdom. Indra, incensed as at this violation of his proper power, and declared war and took the field as the head of large forces. There was much fighting on both sides, and many people were slain also, until Ugramapandian, with his disguise, struck off Indra's crown. And Indra, astonished, found he was not combating with a mere mortal, and sent ambassadors promising to bestow rain. Ugramapandian then did not believe him, and in consequence, Indra sent a man of the Velala caste to become security for rain, hence called Kararai Kata Velala, or waiters for rain. And then the king realized the clouds from confinement, and afterwards, by Indra's command, there was abundance of rain with consequent fertility, and Ugramapandian then ruled the kingdom with justice and liberality.
And the next lila is when Utkrama Pandian struck the Mount Meru and then obtained wealth. Utkrama Pandian was attentive to the instruction of Agastya and in the religious observance of Monday, the fasting on Mondays, and by that means his wife Kantamati brought him a son, whom he named Veerapandian. At this time, the country was distressed by drought, and Bhagavan Sundareshwara, on being besought, appeared in a dream and said, "Go to Mahameru, strike with the ball, and there the riches inside, take them and make the charitable donation, and rain will come." Rising in the morning and going to pay his devotion to Bhagavan Sundareshwara, the king set out with a great retinue, and thus leaving his own country and going to salute the Suran king, passing thence by the Dandaga, the Telinga and Karnataka and Tondaga countries, crossing mountains and rivers, passing Malava, Virada, and Muttiya countries, and going to as far as the Kashi, Banaras, and crossing the Ganga and a desert untrodden, by human footsteps, which is inhabited by the Yalish and the lions, he arrived at Kumeri, which extends on the 1,000 leagues of 10 miles. Passing by which, and also Bharati, 8 times larger still, he arrives at the birthplace of Devi Parvati, or named Mount Imit. Next, crossing the Kimpurada province, as also Arivaradam and the Nishti mountains, and arriving at the Ilva country, surrounded by the river Jamba, he obtained a view of Mahameru, which is the support of the earth, having 1,008 peaks, which are also the pillars of the gods, and which besides was once a bow in the hands of Bhagavan Paramashiva.
And then, as that was a sacred land, he halted his retinue at a distance, made by himself a circuit of the mountain, and standing on the south addressed its king, saying, O Meru, surrounded by all planets, constellations, and demigods of Mountain King, attend. Then, taking the ball in his hands, he struck the mountain with anger. The mountain reeled, its peaks trembled, and the king of the mountains, with one head and 4 umbrella bearing arms, came forth ashamed, confessed a dedication of attention and of duty for that one day from service of Paramashiva, and asked what was his business. The reply was, riches are wanted. All that he desired was given, and him by opening, it was given by him by opening a mine, and the cleft was closed with his own royal seal. He brought the load of precious metals on elephants to Madurai, on the royal elephants to Madurai, and he gave largely to the Brahmins, the Shaivas, and the temples, and rain came down as formerly, so that the country was again fertile, and he flourished 40,000 years of the gods, after which, crowning Veerapandyan and delivering to him the kingdom, Ukramapandyan resumed the unchangeable form of Paramashiva.
After the destruction of all things by the Pralaya, when the Vedas were produced by the word of Paramashiva himself, the Rishis and the Brahmins, wanting to know the meaning, applied the Harabhakti, the worship of Paramashiva, and were directed to go to Madurai and learn from Bhagavan Sundareshwara. Accordingly, after coming there and bathing in all of the golden lotus tanks, they were met by Bhagavan Sundareshwara, who told them to worship all the self-existing, the Svayam Prakasha, the self-existing linga, or the stone images that were the sum and substance of the Vedas. He then explains the issuing of the 28 books of Shiva, of Shaivism, and from that, the center mouth of Paramashiva, the Rig Veda, the Sama Veda, the Yajur Veda, and the Atharva Veda, from the other 4 mouths. Moreover, stating that the sense of the Vedas was difficult to be made out and of no very great consequence, he told them that the real secret was the duty of worshipping the Paramashiva Linga and a secret unknown to Brahma or Vishnu, and charging on them, due to the performance of this instruction, he gave them the blessing. The Rishis and the Brahmin then sung praises of Bhagavan Sundareshwara for blessing them and by so brief a process to instruct them in the sense of the Vedas.
And while Veerapandian ruled, he had many inferior wives who had children, but the legitimate queen was without offspring, without a child. And until the time when, by performing penance to the Lord, to Bhagavan Sundareshwara, the queen delivered a son, concerning whom all the customary astrological ceremonies were performed. And afterwards, the king, while hunting, was slain by a tiger. When the eldest of the concubines, thinking this to be the favorable time, stole the crown and the royal jewels. After the grief of the ministers for the death of the king, Veerapandian had somewhat subsided, they found the crown missing and considered this to be the stratagem of an enemy. They were embarrassed of how to proceed, and then the Lord Sundareshwara, Bhagavan Sundareshwara, then came as a chetty or a merchant and offered 9 very valuable jewels for sale, explaining that they were once the body of Vallasura. And this giant, by performing penance to Paramashiva, had acquired power to conquer the inferior deities. And one day, Indra, offering to him a gift, he jeered the king of demigods as as a conquered person offering gifts to the conqueror, and himself offered a gift to Indra, who then besought him to burn himself in the shape of a cow in a sacrifice which Indra was making. He did so, and when, according to a former promise of Paramashiva, different parts of the cow's body became inestimable jewels of different kinds of colors, and the properties of these jewels were explained by the Chetty, who gave them into the hands of the ministers of Madurai and said, "Thank the Lord Paramashiva," and disappeared. They took the jewels and had a crown made, and with it crowned the young king, naming him Abhishekam, which means anointed. He also recovered the jewels which had been lost and joyfully reigned over the kingdom. And while Abhisheka Pandyan was performing puja in the Chaitra month, in the month of Chitra, the camphor incense employed spread a great perfume. Then Lord Indra, Bhagavan Indra, was also desirous of performing homage, but was prevented by the Pandyan's previous service. And on returning, Indra was met by Varuna. He inquired the reason of his looking sorrowful, and on being informed of the vexatious, disappointed, the god of the sea again asked, "Is then this lingam so great a god?" To which question Indra replied that as it had removed his former sin and taken the curse from his white elephant, it was a great god. Then Varuna asked, "Can it cure the pain of my bowels?" The other answered, "To do that would be an easy thing." So then Varuna, feeling doubtful, sent a large accumulation of seas to try the deity's power, to try Bhagavan's power, which greatly alarmed the people of the kingdom. But the Lord, Bhagavan Sundareshwara, commanded some clouds to descend from his head, which absorbed the sea, and the people, now discerning that this was a sacred amusement of Bhagavan Sundareshwara, and rendered him praises.
And Varuna, being disappointed and angry, ordered the 7 clouds to go and pour down their contents for the destruction of Madurai. Accordingly, these clouds came and with threatening gloom, lightning, and thunder, and preceded a deluge by sending rain with drops as large as pumpkins. Bhagavan Sundareshwara, seeing these, ordered them before mentioned clouds to interpose, which they accordingly did. And by spreading a covering above the town and beneath Varuna's clouds, prevented any more rain from falling. Varuna, now discerning the intervention of Bhagavan Sundareshwara, went and bathed in the golden lotus tank. When his inward pain immediately ceased, on which he besought the forgiveness of Bhagavan Sundareshwara and the misdemeanors that he had committed. Thanking Bhagavan Sundareshwara for the removal of the pain, he returned to his own city. From that time forward, Madurai acquired the title of the assemblage of the four clouds.
And when Sundareshwara condescended to assume the form of courage, let's take this is the next story. So it pleased the Lord to come, it pleased Bhagavan Sundareshwara to come to Madurai in the form of a Siddhar, and with all the usual accompaniments of that order, he walked the royal and Brahmin streets and performed various wonders. He brought distant mountains near and removed near ones far off, and he made old females become young children and children to become old women. He changed the sexes and he made the barren fruitful. The humpbacked, the deaf and the dumb, the blind and the lame, he severally healed. And he turned four metals into gold. He made the rich become poor and made the enemies to be friends. He caused the yeti, the poisonous shrub, to produce mangoes, and brought a flood of the river Vaigai, and returned fresh water into salt water. He made salt water fresh. He threw a pilgrim's staff into the air, threaded a cotton ball through it, and then rested his head on the cotton thread, performed the attitude of penance, heels upwards, the staff remaining in the air. He took clouds into his hands and, well, wringing them, appeared to drink the water they contain. He caused things seen in the night, such as the stars, to be seen in the day, and things visible in the day to be seen in the night. He taught the Vedas to things which could not be understood. He turned coconut trees into palmyra trees, and then the rivers changed the species of other trees and brought celestial things down to earth. And while thus occupying the attention of people so that they neglected their employments, the Pandyan, hearing of the circumstances, sent his ministers to call the performer of these wonders. They did so respectfully, but the Siddhar said, "What are kings to me?" and refused to go. The king, on hearing of his refusal, only replied, "What has the great in religious sense to do with this?" and remained quiet. Then the Siddha gave the sugarcane to a stone elephant. So, still feeling a curiosity to see the Siddha, the king went accompanied by his retinue.
So, but still feeling a little curious to see the Siddha, the king went accompanied by his retinue, as though he would visit the temple, and there he met with the performer. In reply to the inquiries from the king, the Siddha said that he went about as he pleased, though more accustomed to be in Kasi, he had displayed various feats in Chidambaram and the other places, and here at Madurai. And especially that he wanted nothing from the king, for though such men as might perform a few feats would receive offered royal rewards, yet he could not perform all things desired. And at this time, the villager brought a sugar cane, and the king, expressing doubt, said, pointing to a stone elephant sculpture on the tower of the temple, if you can make the elephant and the sugar cane, then eat the sugar cane, then I shall admit that you can do all things and must be our Lord Sundareshwara. On this request being made, the Siddhar glanced at a side look at the elephant, which immediately gave signs of life. Then he took the sugar cane from the hands of the king and ate it. And not being content with that, took the garland of the pearls from the king's neck and put it into his mouth. While the Europeans were busy in attempting to scare the elephant, the king fell at the feet of the Siddhar, worshipping him, who then looked again at the elephant, which immediately restored the string of pearls to the king. The Pandyan then received many gifts from the Siddhar, and after causing his son Vikrama Pandyan to be crowned, he attained the lotus feet of Bhagavan Sundareshwara and was again reunited with him in Kailasa.
And then while Vikramapandian regained, he drove away all the heterodox sects, confirmed the established religions, built a temple for the Siddhar, and then ruled with justice and virtue. But a Chera king who ruled in Kanchipuram was also of the Chamana faith, being resentful and treacherous and envious at the prosperity of the Pandyan kingdom, assembled together 8,000 of this set of the Chamanals of Anjanam and other lofty mountains, and commanded them to make a sacrifice with a view to effect the destruction of the Pandyan king. Accordingly, they made a sacrifice, the limits of which for the attendance of people extended over 30 kadams or 30 miles. And the sacrificial pit itself occupied 10 miles. Into this pit they poured margosa oil and gingerly oil, fruits of various kinds and flesh of animals, and from the fire of monstrous black elephants were produced, which the king commanded to go and to destroy Madurai. The elephant accordingly proceeded with great noise and rage, and the Chamanals followed. The Pandyan king, hearing of its approach, supplicated the Lord Bhagavan Sundareshwara, who said, "Never mind, build me a mandapam and I will kill the elephant."
And accordingly, a mandapa having the 16 pillars was built, and Bhagavan Sundareshwara came in the guise of a hunter. When the elephant approached, he directed against it a rocket of the kind called Narasimha Asitram, which were dispersed by the troops of the Pandyan. And such was the haste of the fugitives that their peacock pans, their sleeping mats, and drinking vessels were broken to pieces. The spot became famous, and one named the Prachalitran by worshipping the famous one named by worshipping the rocket that was left sticking in the elephant mountain, obtained a celestial gift, and one named the Ramazan by worshipping and forming a tank bearing his own name, also received a like gift. The elephant mountain remains to this day, and Narasimha Swami resides there. The Pandyan raising the hunter and the Bhagavan Paramashiva and receiving from him many gifts, returned to Madurai, had a son born to him and named Rajashekara Pandyan, and prosperously continued to rule.
And while Vikramapandian was thus ruling, there was a Brahmin named Virupachi, and his wife's name, being Subhavrita, was childless, and in consequence they worshipped the seven celestial females, traveled to be in heaven corresponding with the seven rishis, and obtained thereby the gift of a daughter. And at the age of 5, the child named Gauri asked to be taught a prayer for the speedy change of her mortal form, and the Brahmin, being surprised at her early good sense, taught her the Parvati mantra. While the father was waiting for a suitable husband, when the Brahmin Virupachi was waiting for a suitable husband, she passed the 8th year of her age without being betrothed, which the Brahmins considered to be a disgrace. And one day, a Vaishnava Brahmin coming to beg alms, the father, which was Virupachi, perceiving him to be learned in the Vedas, bestowed the daughter on him in marriage, with the usual ceremony of gift, and without saying anything on the subject to anyone. The neighbors, on learning the circumstances at first, blamed him, but on further examination found no other fault than that the husband was a Vaishnava and approved the marriage.
And when the Vaishnava Brahmin brought his wife to his own village and to his parents, they disapproved of him marrying a Shaiva woman, and the woman, seeing nothing but Vaishnavas around her, without any Brahmins, wearing ashes and beads, sighed for her own people. One day, parents locked her up alone and without calling her went away to a distant marriage feast. In this interval, the aged Shaiva Brahmin in appearance came to her and asked for food. And on being admitted into the house and food being given by the woman, since he was too firm to feed himself, she assisted him to eat. When he suddenly changed to a young man, richly habited, and on surprise being expressed by the Brahmin, as also fear with reference to the return of her husband's parents. The young man suddenly became a child. The parents, having returned, finding her with a young Shaiva child, turned both out of the door. And while she was in the street, sorrowing deeply for her misfortunes, she meditated on Devi Parvati, and on which the child instantly disappeared, and Bhagavan Sundareshwara himself approached her, seated on his Nandi Vahana, and taking her up with him. While the clouds rained flowers and the townspeople were astonished, he carried her through the air to Madurai.
And after Vikramapandian had crowned his son Rajashekara Pandyan and given him the kingdom, there came a learned man from Karaikal, the Sovereign King, and said, "Our king knows the 64 Shastras, but you don't know the Bharata Shastram, the art of dancing. To which objection the Pandyan replied, having learned the other 63, I consider it indecorous to learn the other, seeing that the Lord himself condescended to dance in the silver temple. Notwithstanding and disliking the reproach, he set about learning the art and finding it very difficult. He went one day to the silver temple where Bhagavan Paramashiva was standing on one leg and requested that the Lord would change the position of his feet by standing on the other leg, adding while he struck his sword into the ground that if this was not done, he would fall on his sword and kill himself. On this kingly request being made, Bhagavan Paramashiva put his left leg down. He put his lifted leg down and raised the other one, and thus changing the leg on which he stood. And seeing this, the Pandyan bathed in the sea of joy and was greatly rejoiced. He entreated that this changing of the leg might be made publicly to appear to the people, which request the Lord Bhagavan Paramashiva, Lord Nataraja, condescendingly granted.
And Bhagavan Sundareshwara relieved an innocent person who feared the avenger of blood. After Rajashekara Pandyan had given up the kingdom to his son Kulatanga Pandyan, the latter married many wives and had a great many children, among the eldest of which was the Anantaguna Pandyan, who was taught all the needful accomplishments. About this time, a Brahmin came with his wife from Tiruvattur, left her being seated under a tree in order to go and fetch water. While he was away, an arrow which had long been suspended in the tree in consequence of the latter being shaken by the wind, descended and penetrated the body of the woman, who instantly died. At the time, a hunter came to repose near at hand under the shade of another tree. The Brahmin, on returning, astonished to find his dead wife, looking around and discovering the hunter, charged him with the crime of murder and took him along with him together with the body of his wife to the presence of the king. The hunter, or on investigation, maintained his innocence, but by the consent of the king's ministers, was put to severe torture, and all the people admitted that his countenance was not that of a murderer. The king ordered him to put in irons, and giving the Brahmin a present, bid him go bury to his wife. The king prayed to Bhagavan Sundareshwara and that his doubt might be cleared. At night, Bhagavan Sundareshwara appeared to the king and said, go along with the Brahmin and to such a house, to such a chetti's house where there is a wedding and a doubt will be explained.
And the king, in disguise, accompanied the Brahmin to the place indicated, and while in the chetti's house, by Paramashiva's favor, they overheard the conversation of two of Yama's angels. One said, our master has ordered us to kill this bridegroom, for whose death there is no apparent instrumental means. The other said, don't you know how, by the fall of the arrow from the tree, we took the life of the Brahmin woman? I will loosen the bullocks from their ropes, and then, do you know, seated on the horns, finish the business. The king asked the Brahmin what he thought of this. Who said if the event correspond? I shall then hold the hunter to be innocent, Soon after, as the marriage procession came, the great noise which was made alarmed the bullocks, one of which broke its rope, and running furiously at the bridegroom, gored him and caused his death, so that the marriage joyfulness which was turned into a funeral accompaniment and triumph into mourning. On this development, the king and the Brahmin returned, and the king, setting the hunter at liberty, apologizing for punishing him wrongfully, and giving the Brahmin presents, and said, "Go seek another wife and submit to unavoidable evils."
And while Kulotanga Pandian reigned, there was a Brahmin celebrated for his patience, whose wife was not virtuous, and his son was excessively vicious. The evil thought occurred to him of defiling his father's couch, and his mother, losing all self-restraint, tolerated the atrocity. The Brahmin, conjecturing the state of things, waited in the expectation of a full discovery, and the son, knowing such to be the case, cut off his father's head. Then, taking all the household property, he set off, together with his mother, to go to another place. While on the way in a forest, they were attacked by robbers who took away the wretched to an extreme degree, both in mind and body, by a judgment from one day when Bhagavan Sundareshwara and Devi Meenakshi were gone out of the temple in the guise of the hunters. They agreed that the enormity of the crime could only be removed by themselves. And on the culprit meeting them, he was instructed to feed cows and grass, feed cows with grass, and to bathe daily in certain tank. By following the direction, he gradually resumed the appearance and nature of a Brahmin, according to his birth, and finally attained the highest bliss. The Pandyan, hearing of the grace of his deity, celebrated his praise, and the tank acquired the title of the crime removing to still till present day.
And while Kolatunga Pandyan ruled, a learned man came to the place, skillful in science. In consequence of his celebrity, a young man sought permission to become his disciple, and being accepted, became at last equal to his master. The evil thought entered his mind of killing his aged guru and carrying off the latter's wife. While the guru was absent, he made some overtures, but was repulsed by the wife. She being a chaste one, in consequence, he determined on violent proceedings. And Bhagavan Sundareshwara, knowing his evil designs, resolved to punish him. Accordingly, assuming the shape of an aged guru, he came and challenged the disciple to fight, which the latter joyfully accepted. And as promising an easy conquest and success in his designs, accordingly both combatants met the next day, fully armed, and the contest began, which lasted for 10 days to the great surprise of the townspeople. At length, the aged combatant cut out the young one's tongue, cut out his eyes, and cut off his head, and then disappeared. The people cried out, "Where is this aged conqueror?" He ran to his house, and it was informed by his wife that he had gone to the temple. On finding him there, they asked how could he have passed unseen through their midst. He replied it was not he who had fought, but Sundareshwara. Bhagavan Sundareshwara himself. And the king, hearing of the circumstances, gave valuable presents to the man and his wife. And after crowning his son, Anantaguna Pandyan, he went to the presence of Lord Bhagavan Sundareshwara, and then he left his body.
And the next Leela was the destroying of the striped serpent sent by the Chamanals. And while Anantaguna Pandyan was reigning, the beads, ashes, and other tokens of the Shaiva religion were every sacrifice out of the fire which an asura in the form of a striated serpent proceeded, which they sent to devour and destroy the inhabitants of Madurai. On its approach, the king besought Lord Bhagavan Sundareshwara, who gave him permission to kill it. And its coming to the western gate, the Pandyan dispatched several arrows, which the serpent broke to pieces. But at length, one arrow, shaped in the form of a crescent, penetrated the serpent, which vomited a great deal of poison by the pestilential effect, of which many people of the town died. On this evil occurring, the Pandyan besought Bhagavan Sundareshwara to sprinkle a few drops of the ambrosial water from his hair on the place, which request he, Bhagavan Sundareshwara, granted. The poison disappeared, and the king reigned prosperously over his kingdom.
And when the Chamanals found that Anantaguna Pandyan had killed the serpent, they were very angry and consulted together. And they said, if we send a cow, they will be afraid to kill that. Wherefore, making a sacrifice. So then an asura in the shape of a cow came forth, which they sent, saying, go and destroy Madurai. Thereupon it proceeded, raising the duet, and a great rage, hearing which the Pandyan went and besought the Lord, Bhagavan Sundareshwara, asking about what he should do. Then Bhagavan Sundareshwara, addressing Nandi, his Vahana, said, go and conquer the cow. On which Nandi went out, he set out, richly caparisoned, and with great impetuosity, and on meeting the cow, assaulted it with his horns. But the cow, becoming bewildered, was changed into a mountain. Then the bullock enlarged its size and also became, besides, a mountain alongside. But afterwards, in a slender form, returned to the Lord, to Bhagavan Sundareshwara, and was received with applause, in which Parvati joined. Soon after, Rama, which is none other than Bhagavan Sri Ramachandra, came with Sugriva, Hanuman, and his other forces to these mountains on his progress towards Lanka. And sage Agastya also then came to him and explained to him the legend of these mountains, whereon he went to Madurai and worshipped Bhagavan Sundareshwara, and on his return from the conquest of Ravana, bringing his consort Sita with him, he again passed by this way. After paying honors to Bhagavan Sundareshwara, he went back to Ayodhya, and after a time returned with his consort to Vaikuntha. And in the meantime, Anantaguna Pandyan, having, by the favor of Bhagavan Sundareshwara, received a son named Kalo Pushana Pandyan, and he had his son crowned and then died.
another Leela was when Bhagavan Sundareshwara came with a great army on account of the Savandra Samuttan general of the Pandyan. The general named Savandra Samuttan was a great devotee of Bhagavan Sundareshwara, and while carefully conducting the affairs of the kingdom, the king of a tribe of hunters who was named the Sept threatened the kingdom with invasion, on which occurrence the Pandyan said to his general, "Take money from the treasury and raise some more troops." Savandra Samatan, instead of raising troops, presented all the money to Bhagavan Sundareshwara, expending it in the temple ornaments and feasting the Brahmins and supporting the followers of Bhagavan Paramashiva. And from time to time, put all his masters with excuse, falsely pretending to write letters to neighboring countries for aid. After a month, the king became impatient and said, "Tomorrow all the troops should be here. How is it that I see none arrive?" Urged by the necessity of the case, the general went and made known the matter of Bhagavan to Bhagavan Paramashiva, who replied, "I will come tomorrow with plenty of troops." The general told the king that the aid was at hand, and that the next day a great army appeared. The general then said to the king, "Such a division comes from such a country, with such a one from another," and so on. The king asked, Who is that seated on horseback in the midst of all?" The general said, "I don't know, but this was Bhagavan Sundareshwara, mounted on his Nandi, if being transformed to the appearance of a horse." The king now put himself at the head of his own troops, and while going forth, they were met by a messenger bringing news that the king of the hunters, having gone having gone
Yes, so having gone to the forest,
slain
had
by
been
on his
slain
intelligence,
by a tiger.
the king gave orders for the different division to retire to different places. This order was so rapidly obeyed that the army of Paramashiva, Paramashiva's followers, that the king greatly wondered and discovered was a sacred amusement of Bhagavan Paramashiva, and he worshipped Paramashiva and thanked him for all that he had done. So with this, now that we've heard all of the various leelas of Bhagavan Sundareshwara, we will be entering into the Bhava Samadhi Darshan and prepare ourselves to receive Bhagavan Sundareshwara through the Nijavatara of the Supreme Concept of Hinduism. So let us now enter into the Bhava Samadhi Darshan prep after a very quick break. Yes, so we'll enter into the Bhava Samadhi Darshan, and we will prepare ourselves for the Bhava Samadhi Darshan and to receive Bhagavan Sundareshwara in just a few moments. And let us understand what is Bhava Samadhi Darshan. If I could request the volunteer to project the slides for Bhava Samadhi Darshan. Yes, so let us understand what is Bhava Samadhi Darshan.
So the Shastra Pramana for the science of Bhava Samadhi Darshan comes from the Valmiki Jyotina Tantra, verse 60, and it says, Katana Shakti Padatva Yadva Padavalokanat Prasadat Svaguro Samyak Prapyate Paramam Padam. And the translation for this verse is by the enlightening teachings of the Guru Katana, by the Shakti Pada, the graceful transmission of the spiritual powers from the Guru, by looking at the sacred feet of the Guru, or by the complete loving favor of the Guru, Prasad, the ultimate goal in space, Paramam Padam, is attained.
So Bhava Samadhi Darshan is not an event in space and time. Rather, darshan happens at the moment when we are lifted out of space and time. During the Bhava Samadhi Darshan, our neurons mirror that of the avatar.
And the word Bhava is defined as directing or activating the emotional and spiritual energy that is created through meditation on the avatar.
The brain neurons mirror, activate and process all the observed movements or information of the avatar just by seeing and without the physical act of imitation.
And the science of mirroring neurons is a natural phenomenon which happens in all of us, and that is when our entire body can silently and without movement recreate what is happening distances far away, happening, experiencing the superconscious energy radiated by the avatar.
The science of Bhava Samadhi Darshan knows no distance, a phenomenon modern science is just discovering and has terms as quantum tunneling.
And our thoughts per second reduces significantly, and we relax into the space beyond thoughts, which is thoughtlessness, and becoming mentally at ease in coexisting dimensions beyond duality. And we and the divine become one during that time, unconditioned by the parameters of time and space.
It is the probability of a quantum particle like an electron with less kinetic energy to cross over the potential energy of an energy barrier. An electron acts both as a wave and a particle. So imagine a scenario: what happens when an electron with less kinetic energy is approaching a hill? Well, will the electron be able to cross over the potential energy, the peak of the hill? As a particle, the electron will require a higher kinetic energy to cross over the potential energy of the hill, or it will simply roll back. However, as a wave, the electron has the ability to pass through by propagating itself through the hill and going to the other side.
And that is the science behind quantum tunneling. So the same science is imposed on people who witness the Bhava Samadhi Darshan. This is because our neurons are able to mirror the neurons of the divine immediately through quantum tunneling, and we are able to travel through the divine energy and mirror the exact same neurons.
The science of Bhava Samadhi Darshan Let us understand now. Bhagavan Paramashiva describes the Bhava Samadhi Darshan. When Krishna once saw his own extraordinary sweetness reflected in a jeweled wall, he was amazed and said, "How unprecedented and astonishing is this deep and indescribable sweetness of mine. Alas, when I see it, even I become greedy to enjoy it. Just like Radhika, when I see my own sweetness in the mirror, I become eager to taste it, but I can't. And after due consideration, I find that the only way to relish this sweetness is through the constitution of Sri Radhika."
And the Bhava Samadhi Darshan is where the sign for the Nijavatara manifests Paramashiva. The Nijavatara manifests Paramashiva, the consciousness, the formless, and expresses the being of Paramashiva through the Ditya Sharira, the light body, and manifests as Nijavatara, the physical form or embodied forms for us to experience Paramashiva. And as we had seen before, the Shastra Pramana for the signs of Bhava Samadhi Darshan comes from the Malini Vijayotara Tantra, verse 60. Katana Shakti Padatva Yadva Padavalokanat Prasadat Swaguru Samyak Prapyate Paramam Padam. And the translation for this is by the enlightening teachings of the Guru Katana, by the Shakti Pada, the graceful transmission of the spiritual powers from the Guru, by looking at the sacred feet of the Guru, or by the complete loving favor of the Guru, Prasad, the ultimate goal in space, Paramam Padam, is attained.
So, for example, Devi Parashakti expresses through the being of Raja Rajeshwari and manifests as the Nijavatara, the physical form of Devi Meenakshi.
And many other examples is where Bhagavan Paramashiva expresses through the beings of Subramanya and manifests as Nijavatara, the physical form, through Bhagavan Muruga.
And Bhagavan Paramashiva expresses the being of Arunagiri Yogeshwara and manifests as the Nijavatara, the physical form of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashiva.
And Bhagavan Parandama expresses the being of Mahavishnu and manifests as Nijavatara, the physical form of Bhagavan Venkateshwara.
So the Archavatara, the deity, reflects the consciousness and manifestation, the being of the superconscious energy. But human beings are not yet mature enough to receive the higher level experiences from the Archavatara directly. The avatar, the physical embodied form, comes down to bridge the gap and create the experience of the superconscious energy in all of us.
And when we have the Bhava Samadhi Darshan of the Nijavatara manifesting beings of various dimensions of Paramashiva, the auspicious confidence and the powerfulness of those dimensions of Paramashiva are awakened in us.
The dimension of Paramashiva manifesting in the Nijavatara for us to experience the same is Bhava Samadhi Darshan.
So the Bhava Samadhi Darshan is the direct experience of the causeless bliss. And during the Bhava Samadhi Darshan, our being comes alive and celebrates with the energy wave of existence.
Our very muscles learn to imbibe and radiate Paramashiva. Bhava Samadhi Darshan is like a window to the infinite expanse of consciousness, allowing us to glimpse the formless in a way that we can understand.
And even without much effort from our side, our very biomemory awakens to the space of Paramashiva, the ultimate consciousness, during the Bhava Samadhi Darshan.
To have glimpse of, having darshan of an avatar cleanses the karmas of lifetimes and creates a deep and lasting transformation in each of us.
And the space of gratitude enables the reflection of consciousness in all levels, the physical, psychological, and and ultimately the conscious levels. And the darshan meditation is a preparation that helps us to fall into the deep space of gratitude. And it is during that time when we drop the conscious resolutions, the Satya Sankalpa of anything that we want or need in our life, and be ready to reflect the consciousness of Paramashiva. So that is all you need to manifest the best of your life and lives of all the other people around you.
So the right context to receive the darshan is, I know you are the source of everything. You are everything, and you are in the embodied form of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, and you are in this body. You are the source of both. Let me connect with you. Let you reveal yourself to me. Let me be in the Bhava Samadhi of you.
And now all of you can take a few minutes to set up for the Panchopachara Puja, which means the 5 offerings. Pancha is 5 and Upachara is offering. So you can take a few minutes to set up for the Panchopachara Puja, which all of you will be doing to receive Bhagavan Sundareshwara. So you can arrange the sandalwood paste or powder, some flowers, and then the incense, the lamp, and a food offering, the Naivedya. And if you would like to offer your Naivedyams, you can enter your Naivedyam offerings in the link below, tiny.cc/food donation. And yes, now all of you can take a few minutes to set up for the Panchopachara Puja. And we will be entering into the Paramashiva Dhyana Mantra.
Yes. Now, let us all enter into the Paramashiva Dhyana Mantra.
The Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness, Bhagavan Shri Nityananda Paramashivam, has blessed the Paramashiva Dhyana Mantra. The prayer service as an initiation Diksha, which transmits energy, experience, and powers in the form of sacred mantras. Just like how the avatar transmits Shaktis by a look Nayana or a touch Sparsha, similarly the avatar births himself as the mantra which encompasses all his Shaktis, energies, and transmits those Shaktis to
anyone to whom this mantra is chanted from the space of oneness and deep restful awareness, that person is blessed, bestowed with health, well-being, abundance, prosperity, love, fulfilling relationships, enormous growth and success in business, and a complete and fulfilled life manifests without any doshas or sins or evil lives, leading to a long, healthy, and a blissful life. And today, with the grace and blessings of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Kailasa's Department of Human Services and Kailasa's Department of Legion and Worship is offering the Paramashiva Dhyana Mantra on behalf of each and every one of you. So we request today for Irenar Sundareshwara Paramashiva Paramvaru to accept this offering through the embodied form of the Nijavatar, the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Shri Nityananda Paramashivam, and bless us all with the benefits starting from healing of health issues, healing of psychological stress, anxiety, healing of addictions, moving out of depression, moving out of pain patterns, improve career, heal relationships with spouse, family, profession, breakthrough in the wealth dimension, protection for all the children that were orphaned due to the pandemic, protection from the natural calamities, protection from the lost wages and income, solution to any problem, breakthrough in creativity, increased inspiration, moving out of debt, experience increased energy and vitality.
We are offering our prayers for healing from any insecurities, offering our prayers for protection from any direct or indirect effects of the pandemic. We are offering our prayers for the leadership consciousness to be awakened in each and every one of us. We are offering our prayers for healing from any genetic or inherited disorder. We are offering our prayers for experiencing completion in your muscle memory and biomemory.
We pray to Irenar Paramashiva Paramvaru Sundareshwara Paramashiva Parampurul to bless us all, to be continuously available to us, for us to experience complete completion in our muscle memory, bio memory, and experience complete completion in every dimension of life, for us to experience His love, protection, blessings, grace continuously, and for us to have the ultimate Guru Bhakti continuously with the embodied, the Nijavatara, Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Nityananda Paramashiva. Now let us all enter into the Paramashiva Dhyana mantra. Om Nityananda Paramashivoham. Om Nityananda Paramashivoham. Om Nityananda Paramashivoham. Om Ham Hom Shivaya Namaha. Om Hrim Nityanandaya Namaha. Om Nityanandam Paramasukadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagana Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunaраhitam Satgurum Tam Namami.
I surrender to that Sadguru who is the eternal bliss, the bestower of supreme happiness, the one who is the embodiment of wisdom, who is beyond duality, who is omnipresent, to whom the supreme goal is giving the enlightenment experience, who is eternal, pure and unshakable, who is the silent spectator of all thought processes, who is beyond emotions, who is beyond the three qualities called the Sattva, Rajas and Tamas. We will now enter into the conscious resolution. When you make a conscious resolution in the presence of the avatar, the very conscious resolution itself will manifest the reality.
Om Namo Pata Samasavitakshe Dvara Bhagavat Shri Nityananda Paramashiva Prityartham. And taking this conscious resolution today for destroying all my karmas and sins and in order to please Bhagavan Shri Nityananda Paramashivam, Asya Devadevasya Mahadevasya Akhilanda Koti Brahmanda Nayakasya.
Who is the God of all gods? Who is the greatest of gods? The Lord of the universes and multiverses. And who is the Lord of the cosmos?
Sakala Jagat Srishti Sthiti Samhara Tiro Bhava Anugrahakya Panchakritya Parayanasya.
The one who does the cosmic actions of creation, sustenance, rejuvenation, pulling out of delusion and liberation.
Adimadhyantarahitasya Prameya Parakramasya Tattvartha Gocharasya.
The one who is the beginning, middle and the end. The one who is immeasurable.
Akaro Karmakaratmaka Pranavatmakasya Rishabharudhasya Mahadevasya Kamikadivatulanta Mahadantrakya Shaivagamaswarupasya Sakala Nigamagamaswarupasya Shuddhadvaita Shaivaswarupasya Nityananda Padasasya Nityananda Swarupasya Siddha Satchidananda Vigrahasya Rupa Rupaditasya Sakala Nishkala Swarupasya Nitya Niranjana Niramaya Nirvikara Khandadi Visheshanasya Shri Nityanandeshwari Parashakti Sameta Shri Nityanandeshwara Paramashivasya Shri Nityanandeshwari Parashakti Sameta Shri Nityanandeshwara Paramashiva Avatara Bhutasya Sarvadeva Devi Swarupasya Bhagavataha Shri Nityananda Paramashivasya Cha Prityartham Shubhe Shobhane Muhurte Adya Brahmanaha Dvitiya Pararde Shri Shvetavaraha Kalpe Vaivasatamanantare Ashtavinshati Tame Nitya Yuge Pratame Pade Jambo Dvipe Bharata Varshe Bharata Kande Meroho Dakshine Parshve Shakabde Asmin Vartamane Vyavaharike Prabhavadinam Shrishtiyaha Samvatsaranam Madhye Shubhanama Samvatsare Shubhayane Shubharitau Shubhamase Shubhapakshe Shubhaditau Shubhavasayutayam Shubhanakshatra Shubhayoga Shubhakarana Evam Gunavisheshana Vishishtayam Syam Shubhaditau.
During this auspicious time, during the second half of the lifetime of Lord Brahma, during the Kalpa called Shvetavaraha, during the regime of Vaivasvata Manu, during the first quarter of the Yuga called Nitya Yuga, in the island called Jambu, in the continent called Bharatavarsha, in the subcontinent called Bharatakanda, in the southern side of Mount Meru, in the Shakayara, during the auspicious year, which is one of the set of 60 years, which is in practice, of which Prabhava is the first year, in the auspicious Ayana, in the auspicious season, in this auspicious month, in the auspicious Paksha, the face of the moon, on this auspicious Tithi, on the auspicious day, during the auspicious Nakshatra, during the auspicious Yoga and the auspicious Karana, during such an auspicious moment.
Adi Kailase Kalpavrikshasya Daha Nityananda Nagare Smrita Smritana Muktidayake Mahakshetre
We now request all the participants, whether you're male or female, whether you're offering for yourself or for someone else. But if you're chanting this mantra for a male body, please chant their names now.
Namadheyasya. We request all the participants, whether you're offering this for yourself or for someone else. If you're offering this for a female, kindly chant the female names now. Namnyaha cha yajamananam avayoho sakutumbanam bandhuvarganam dayadivarganam mitravarganam sodaravarganam samesham.
For all those who are participants, hosts, and me, with their families, relatives, inheritors, friends, brothers, and everyone.
Sarvabhishta siddhyatam sarvamangalavaptyartam uttarottaranavachinna sthiralakshmi praptyartam.
Always let there be all types of good and auspiciousness. Always let there be unbroken and steady flow of abundance, prosperity, and wealth.
Kutumbe sarvesham sarvabhishta siddhyatam chinditam manorathavaaptyartham.
Let the family always have all kind of auspiciousness and anything which is desired be fulfilled.
Samesham adhivyadhi nivrityartham samesham shiradipada paryantam vidyamanana sameshu angeshu dharita janishyamana sakala vidha nana vidha roganam vyapohartham tadvara rogadridagatra siddhyartham.
Let all the chronic diseases be healed. Let all kinds of diseases and disorders in the body, starting from head till toe, which has occurred or which is yet to occur in the various parts of the body, be healed. Let a strong, diseaseless, healthy, handsome, and graceful body be obtained.
Samesham parikadribhishya gadakarishyamana sakala vidha mantra tantra yantra vishachurna abhichara stambhana marana uchchatana vitveshana vashikarana adi mantrika prayoge vyaharakshana praptyatam tadvara samesham sarvabhi.
Let protection be obtained from all the evil effects of the acts performed by people, either in the past or yet to be performed in the future, through the use of mantra, tantra, yantra, poisonous spell, employing spells for malevolent purposes, like making a person immobile, killing a person through vomiting and diarrhea, upsetting and ruining the health, poisoning, hypnotizing, etc. And all the doshas and ill effects related to death, like destined death, unnatural death, fatal death, be removed.
Samesham anta drishti, bahi drishti, chur drishti, vyapara drishti, anukula drishti, pratikula drishti, ityadi asakala vidha drishta doshana vityartham.
And all the effects of the evil eyes from known and unknown sources, effects of cruelty filled eyes, evil eyes of business enemies, effects of evil eyes of people who may project as if they are our well-wishers, and the effects of evil eyes of people who are against our well-being be removed.
Samesham anta shatru, bahi shatru, krura shatru, vyapara shatru, anukula shatru, pratikula shatru, ityadi sakala vidha shatru badha nivrityartham.
Let all the effects of the inner enemies and outer enemies, fierce enemies, business enemies, enemies who project themselves as good, and enemies who work against our well-being be removed.
Samesham matrishapadi sakala vidha shapanam vyapohanartham.
And all the evil effects of all the causes right from the mother be removed.
Anadi avidya vasanaya pravartamane asmin mahati samsara chakre vichitrabhi karma gatibihi vichitrasu yonisho punah punahane kadhajanitva.
Sometime immemorial, due to ignorance, we get caught in the cycle of birth and death. Due to the effects of our action, we take birth again and again in various bodies, which is quite strange.
Kenapi punya karma visheshena bhagavatah Nityananda Paramashiva Saparimitaya Kripaya Idani Tana Manushya Janma Praptavatam.
Yet due to some good action, with the extreme and immeasurable compassion and the grace of Bhagavan Sri Nityananda Paramashivam, we have been blessed with a human body.
Samesham iha janmani purva janmani janma janmantareshu sarvaihi kritanam shiva ninda devi ninda guru ninda dosha vyapohartam shiva parada devi aparada gurva parada dosha vyapohartam.
Any kind of abuse we may have done to Paramashiva Parashakti and Guru in the present birth, past birth, or in any of the births be removed. Any kind of crimes and offences committed against Paramashiva Parashakti and Guru be removed.
Brahma Hatya Sura Pana Swarna Te Guru Talpraka Manatatan Sargakya Pancha Mahapata Kala Samasta Pavavitiriktartam.
Let the 5 great sins like killing a Brahmin, drinking prohibited alcohol, stealing gold, having illicit relationship with Guru's wife, one's own mother, elder sister, and other such motherly figures, and associating with those people who have committed one or the other above mentioned sins be removed.
Apita sarve balye vayasi kaumare yauvane vardhakye cha.
Let all the karmic effects of the action done as a child, adolescent, youth, and as an old age person
Jagrat Swapnasya Shupyavasthasu.
And all the karmic effects of action done in the wakeful dream or deep sleep state.
Karmendriya Jnanendriya Vyaparai Sambhavitanam.
And all the sense unto the karmendriyas, the 5 organs which perform action like speech, hands, feet, excretion, and reproductive organs, and the jnanendriyas, the 5 organs which receive information like ears, eyes, nose, tongue, and skin.
Rahasyakratanam, Prakashyakratanam, Adipatakanam, Upapatakanam, Sankalikarananam, Malinikarananam, Apadrikarananam, Jati
Bramshakanam,
Prakiritanam, Evam Navanam, Navavidhanam, Bahunam, Bahuvidhanam, Sarvesham, Papanam, Satyah.
Sin, sin like raping a woman, unjustifiable sin, sin of destroying the caste system, narrow-minded sin, such 9 sins and 9 types of sins, and more sins and more types of sins be removed immediately and instantly.
अपनोदन द्वारा समस्त मंगल प्राप्त्यतन शिव भक्ति देवी भक्ति गुरु भक्ति सिद्ध्यतम परमशिवत्व परमशिव स्थिति परमशिव शक्ति सिद्ध्यतम.
Through the removal of sins, let us be showered with all auspiciousness, and let Paramashiva Bhakti Devi Bhakti and Guru Bhakti be obtained. Let the state of Paramashiva, space of Paramashiva, powers of Paramashiva be obtained.
कुटुंबे सर्वदा सन्मंगल प्राप्त्यर्थम अन्योन्य प्रेमाभिवृद्ध्यर्थम उन्नत सिद्ध्यर्थम सर्वापनिवृत्त्यर्थम.
Whole family always be showered with all the auspiciousness. Let the mutual love bloom among all the people. Let completion happen. Let all the mishap be removed.
प्रारोग्यवाप्त्यर्थम आयुर्भिवृद्ध्यर्थम.
Let the healthy body be obtained immediately and instantly. Let longevity be bestowed.
व्यापारे उद्योगे च सर्वजनवशीकरणार्थं तद्वारा उन्नतोन्नत स्थान प्राप्त्यर्थम.
Let your charisma impress everyone in the business and job, and through that let you attain the best of the best position.
बहुधन सौख्य प्राप्त्यर्थम गृह कनक पशुपुत्र पौत्र धनधान्य सौख्य प्राप्त्यर्थम.
Let extremely wealthy and happy life happen. Let various will be showered in the form of household, cattle, children, grandchildren, money, grains, and all the comforts related to worldly life.
आदित्यादीना नवानां ग्रहाणां दोष पीडानिवारणार्थम आदित्यादीना नवानां ग्रहाणां अनुकूलता सिद्ध्यर्थम.
Let all the malefic effects of the 9 planets be removed, and let auspiciousness be bestowed by the grace of all the 9 planets.
अंतरिक्ष विद्यमान भूत प्रेत पिशाच राक्षस ब्रह्मराक्षस बेताल कुष्मांड डाकिनी शाकिनी इत्यादि सर्वारुष निवारणार्थम.
Let all the evil effects that cause calamities on the planet are the evil effects from various demonic beings like Bhuta, Preta, dead people, Pishacha, demon, Rakshasa, Brahma, Rakshasa, Vetala, ghost, Kushmanda, the class of demons, Dakini, little devil, Shakini, the kind of female demon be removed.
मनोव्याकुलता निवारणार्थम. Let the mental
confusion and worry
कर्मणि आदिदैविक आदिभौतिक आध्यात्मिक विघ्न निवारणार्थम.
Let all the obstacles be removed with regards to action done or going to be done related to God, world, and spirituality.
समस्त ऋण निवारणार्थम धन लक्ष्मी धान्य लक्ष्मी संतान लक्ष्मी सौभाग्य लक्ष्मी विद्या लक्ष्मी शौर्य लक्ष्मी वीर लक्ष्मी विजय लक्ष्मी इत्यादि अष्टलक्ष्मी परिपूर्ण कृपा कटाक्ष सिद्ध्यर्थम.
Let all the loans be removed. Let all the
loans be removed. Let all the Ashlakshmi धन लक्ष्मी
संतान लक्ष्मी offering सौभाग्य लक्ष्मी fortune विद्या लक्ष्मी knowledge शौर्य लक्ष्मी bravery वीर लक्ष्मी heroism विजय लक्ष्मी success be showered.
परीक्षा सुन्नत स्थाने विजय प्राप्त्यर्थं सर्वविद्या पारंगता सिद्ध्यर्थं मेधा शक्ति ग्रहण शक्ति अभिवृद्ध्यर्थं.
Let the top rank be obtained in the examinations. Let all the excellence be acquired in all the fields of knowledge. Let the memory power, understanding ability be increased.
इत्यादि सकलविध सन्मंगलानि गुरुकृपा कटाक्षेण सिद्ध्यर्थं.
By the grace of Guru, let all the above auspiciousness be showered upon.
श्री कैलासोनद द्वादशांत श्यामला पीठारूढ़.
The one who has ascended the Madurai Adinam Shamala Peetham, which is the supreme place of Kailasa, where Paramashiva resides and rules the whole cosmos and Kailasa.
श्री मीनाक्षी सुंदरेश्वरा भिन्न स्वरूप परशु पुत्र रत्न कुमार गुरुमन्य तुल्यावतार श्री पार्वती संज्ञापन लब्ध दिव्य ज्ञान विशुद्ध सकल निगमागम सारभूत द्राविड़ वेद प्रवर्तृ.
The young boy who is the gem among the Gurus and the unequaled avatar, the one who received enlightenment by drinking the breast milk of Devi Parvati, the author of the famous Dravida Vedam, which is the essence of all the Vedas and Agamas.
श्रीमत् परमशिव करुणा समधित मुक्तामय चित्रश्रयान गीयमान तत्र चामर श्रीचिन्ह काहलादि समस्त बिरदावल्यलंकृत ज्ञान विज्ञान चक्रवर्ती.
The one who is adorned by the quadrangular palanquin made of all, received by the grace of Paramashiva, adorned by the musical instruments Amrala Chamram, the sacred symbols of worship, adorned by the hymns of praises, the one who has won the whole world by his enlightenment and the signs of enlightenment and been accepted by all the kings as the supreme ruler.
सर्व जनसंघ सद्यो निर्वाण दीक्षा व्यापवर्ग वशिष्ठान जीमूत परमत कल्प केसरी.
The shower of the Videha Mukti and the immutable state of enlightenment immediately by Nirvana Diksha to all people. The one who creates bliss, protecting leader, the roaring lion and the trumpeting angel and for other religions.
शैव सिद्धांत स्थापनाचार्य श्री राजाधिराज पांड्य महाराज गुरु शपनचाक्यादि महांधकार निवारण ज्ञान भानु वीक्षण नरहारछेदन पूर्वक ऋषभध्वज स्थापक शैव समय कर्त्रे.
Acharya who established Saiva Siddhanta, the Rajaguru of the Pandya, who is the supreme king of all kings, the Guru who is also the Pandya king, the supreme king of all kings, the enlightening sun that removes the utter darkness of delusion, the one who installed the Rishabha flag, the creator, the reviver of Shaivism.
सर्वज्ञ पीठ रूढ़ श्री जगत गुरु श्री ज्ञान संबंध देशिक स्वामी वागी सुंदर माणिक्य वाचक स्वामी नाम अवतार भूत श्री ज्ञान संबंध स्वयं पुनरुद्धित श्यामला पीठ सर्वज्ञ पीठ तिरुवति उत्तर दिशा गुरु महासन्निधान.
The one who is the ruler of the Sarvagnya Pita, the seat of omniscience, who the avatar of such above mentioned attributes, the Guru of the whole world, Sri Jnana Sambandha Deshika Swami, Appa Sundara Ramanika Vachakar Swami, who the ruler of the kingdom of enlightenment, the Shamala Pita Mahasamsthana, which was revived by Jnana Sambandha Swami, who the one who ascended the seat of omniscience, the 293rd Guru Mahasannidhana.
योगेश्वर परंपरागत अरुणाचल सर्वज्ञ गुरु महासन्निधान.
The one who ascended the seat of Arunachala Sarvagnya Pita in the lineage of Arunagiri Yogeshwara.
कैलास परंपरागत कांची कैलास सर्वज्ञ पीठ त्रयश्चतुर्दशतम गुरु महासन्निधान.
The one who has ascended the seat of Kanchi Kailasa Sarvagnya Pita as the 233rd pontiff in the lineage of Kailasa.
नित्य मंगल नित्य कल्याण नित्य कैलास परंपरागत आदि कैलास नित्यानंद पीठ महासंस्थान महासिंहासन पीठ कर्तृ.
Creator of the Nityananda Pita Mahasamsthana, Mahasimhasana Pita, which is eternally celebrating auspicious festival and having the attracting energy of enriching.
साक्षात श्री परमेश्वर समुद्भूत कैलास परंपरागत वैश्व समनेश्वर चंद्रभगीरथ श्री रामचंद्र सूर्य इत्यादि सार्वभौम चक्र परंपरागत चतुष्षष्टि योगिनी मंडित चतुष्षष्टि संप्रदाय प्रवर्तक समुद्रशासन सूर्यवंश प्राप्त सर्वज्ञ पीठ सुरांगी साम्राज्य भूताभिषिक्त चूड़ामणि साक्षात श्री परमेश्वर समुद्भूत कपिल महागुरु पुनरुद्धित महानिर्वाण पीठ अष्टोत्तर सहस्र श्री महामंडलेश्वर.
The 1008 Sri Mahamandaleshwara of Mahanirvani Pita, established by Bhagavan Paramashiva himself and revived by sage Kapila.
साक्षात श्री परमेश्वर सिंहासनाभिषिक्त समस्त गणनायक श्री महागणपति समारंभ नव चिन्ह पीठाधीश्वर गुरु परंपरा प्राप्त अटल पीठ अष्टोत्तर सहस्र श्री अटल पीठाधीश्वर.
The 1008 Sri Atala Pita of Atala Pita, which has an unbroken lineage of pontiffs starting from Bhagavan Mahaganapati, who is the leader of the Ganas and who was coronated by Bhagavan Paramashiva himself.
Dharma Mukti Sargapurasana Pita Trayovamsha Guru Mahasannidhana.
23rd Guru Mahasannidhana of Dharma Mukti Sargapurasana Pita.
कैलास परंपरागत आदिपीठ सर्वज्ञ पीठ जगत गुरु श्री कैलास पुनरुद्धार श्री कैलास परमाचार्य श्री परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य वरे सच्चिदानंद प्रणव स्वरूप श्रोत्रिय ब्रह्मनिष्ठ जगत गुरु श्री श्री भगवत श्री नित्यानंद परमशिव श्री ज्ञान संबंध देशिक परमाचार्य स्वामी नाम प्रीत्यर्थम तेषां पादरविद्यो भक्ति सिद्ध्यर्थम गुरु कृपा कटाक्ष सिद्ध्यर्थम क्षेम स्थैर्य वीर्य विचारोग्य ऐश्वर्य अभिवृद्ध्यर्थम धर्मार्थ कामोक्षित फल पुरुषार्थ सिद्ध्यर्थम मम समस्त दुरितोपशान्त्यर्थम समस्त मंगलावाप्त्यर्थम भगवत श्री नित्यानंद परमशिव प्रसादेन सकुटुम्बस्य ज्ञानवैराग्य जीवन मुक्ति प्राप्त्यर्थम च श्री नित्यानंदेश्वरी पराशक्ति समेत श्री नित्यानंदेश्वर परमशिवस्य श्री नित्यानंदेश्वरी पराशक्ति समेत श्री नित्यानंदेश्वर परमशिव अवतार बुद्ध सर्वदेव देवी स्वरूपस्य भगवतः श्री नित्यानंद परमशिवस्य ध्यान षोडशोपचार सर्वोपचार अर्चनाराधन पूजां प्रार्थनां करिष्ये. ओम आनंदगंध निलयाय नमः भवरोगभेषजाय नमः कल्पतरवे नमः पशुपतये नमः पाशमोचकाय नमः वीक्षितफलदायकाय नमः भाग्यवृत्तिपरिवर्तकाय नमः मादिव्याधिविनाशकाय नमः समस्त कल्याण गुणान्विताय नमः बिरदिपुरीशाय नमः श्रीकैलासपते नमः शिवशक्ति स्वरूपाय नमः. ओम ह्रीं नित्यानंदाय नमः. ओम हां हों शिवाय नमः. ओम श्री नित्यानंदेश्वरी पराशक्ति समेत श्री नित्यानंदेश्वर परमशिवाय नमः. ओम श्री नित्यानंदेश्वरी पराशक्ति समेत श्री नित्यानंदेश्वर परमशिव अवतार बुद्ध सर्वदेव देवी स्वरूपाय श्री भगवत श्री नित्यानंद परमशिव श्री ज्ञान संबंध देशिक परमाचार्य स्वामिने नमः. ओम नित्यानंदम. Now we'll enter into chanting of the Dhyana Shlokam for Devi Parashakti.
Now, as all of us are entering, as you all just heard, the Paramashiva Dhyana mantra, let us now enter into meditating the Dhyana, the sacred chants of Bhagavan Sundareshwara. Please sit straight, your head, neck and spine in a straight line. Bring your entire awareness to your Anandagandha, to your whole heart center, just 2 inches above your navel and 2 inches below your heart center. Centering your complete awareness in your Anandagandha. Take in breath deeply and slowly.
Now let us all chant the Mahavak. Om Nityananda Paramashivoham. 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 Om Nityananda Paramashivoham.
Paramashivoham. Om Nityananda 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 Paramashivoham. Paramashivoham. Om Nityananda 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 Paramashivoham. Om Paramashivoham. Om Nityananda 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 Paramashivoham. Paramashivoham. Om Nityananda 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 Paramashivoham.
To Irenar Sundareshwara Paramashiva Paramburun along with the mantra. Yopam pushpam veda pushpavan prajavan pashuman bhavati chandamava pam pushpavan prajavan pashuman bhavati ya evam veda yopa mayatanam veda ayatanavan bhavati pushpai pujayami. Now take the lit incense sticks in your hands and slowly wave it towards Irenar Sundareshwara Paramashiva Paramburun along with the mantra, and please ring the bell as you do so. Om dhurasi dhurva dhurvantam dhurvatayyo osman dhuratitam dhurvayam vayam dhurvamastam devanamasi sasmitamam papritamam jushtatamam vannitamam devahutamam amritamasir havardanam trikumasvamatva amitrasya tva chakshasha prekshe mabherma samvikta matva higum sisham dhupamagrapayami. Now please take the lit lamp in your hands and slowly wave it towards Irena Sundareshwara Paramashiva Paramburu along with the mantra, and please ring the bell as you do so. Om Uddipya Sajata Vedopagniniritam Mama Pashugascha Mahyamavaha Jivanam Chaishodisha Manohigum Sijata Vedo Gamashvam Purusham Jagat Abhibradagnaga Shriyama Paripataya Deepam Darshayami. Please take a udhirni of water and hover it clockwise around the Naivedyam and offer the water to Irena Sundareshwara Paramashiva Paramburu along with the mantra, and please ring the bell as you do so. Om Madhuvatartayate Madhuksharanti Sindhavaha Madviena Santoshadhihi Madhunaktamutoshasi Madhumatpartiva Gumrajaha Madhudyorasnapita Madhuvano Vanaspatir Madhuvagummastu Suryaha Madhirgavo Bhavantu Madhu Naivedya Nivedayami. Now please take the lit camphor, the arati in your hands, and slowly wave it towards Irena Sundareshwara Paramashiva Paramburu along with the mantra. Please ring the bell as you do so. Om Rajati Rajaya Prasanya Sahine Namo Vayam Vaishnavanaya Kurmahe Samika Manka Makamaya Mahyam Kameshwaro Vaishravano Dadatu Kubheraya Vaishravanaya Maharajaya Namaha Karpura Gauram Karunavataram Samsarasaram Bhujagendraharam Sada Vasantam Hridayarvinde Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami Bhavam Bhavani Sahitam Namami Karpura Niranjanam Darshayami. Now in the scene space, let us all get ready to receive the darshan of Irena Sundareshwara Paramashiva Paramburu in the Nija Avatara of the Supreme Pontiff of Hinduism, Jagadguru Mahasannidhanam, His Divine Holiness Bhagavan Shri Nityananda Paramashiva.
Connecting with the Divine with your eyes closed is meditation. Connecting with the Divine with your eyes open is darshan. Come, let us all now move from meditation to darshan. Slowly, very slowly, please open your eyes.
மதுரகின்னரசே மீண்டும் வந்துகின்ற புவியினை ஆண்டிடும் மீண்டும் வந்துகின்ற புவியினை ஆண்டிடும் மதுரையின்னரசே மீண்டும் வந்துகின்ற புவியினை ஆண்டிடும் மதுரையின்னரசே மீனாட்சியின் சொக்கனாய் எங்களுக்கு அப்பனாய் மீனாட்சியின் சொக்கனாய் எங்களுக்கு எங்களுக்கு அப்பனாய் எல்லாம் வல்ல மீனாட்சியின் சொக்கனாய் எங்களுக்கு அப்பனாய் மீனாட்சியின் சொக்கனாய் எங்களுக்கு அப்பனாய் எல்லாம் வல்ல சித்தனாய் நீ வந்து எல்லாம் வல்ல சித்தனாய் நீ வந்த நித்யானந்தா 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 மதுரையின் அரசே மதுரையின் அரசே மீண்டும் வந்து இந்த புவியினை ஆண்டிடும் மதுரையின் அரசே மீனாட்சியாய் வந்தபோது உலகினை வென்றாய் மீனாட்சியாய் வந்தபோது உலகினை வென்றாய் சொக்கனாய் வந்தபோது உள்ளம் வென்றாய் சொக்கனாய் வந்தபோது உள்ளம் வென்றாய் இன்று இரண்டும் சேர்ந்து ஒன்றாகி நித்யானந்தனாய் வந்தாய் இன்று இரண்டும் சேர்ந்து ஒன்றாகி நித்யானந்தனாய் வந்தாய் உன்னிடத்தில் ஆசை கொண்டோம் உள்ளத்தில் வைத்துன்னை பூஜை செய்தோம் உன்னிடத்தில் ஆசை கொண்டோம் உள்ளத்தில் வைத்துன்னை பூஜை செய்தோம் மதுரையின் அரசே மதுரையின் அரசே மீண்டும் வந்து இந்த புவியினை ஆண்டிடும் மதுரையின் அரசே மதுரையின் அரசே மீண்டும் வந்து இந்த புவியினை ஆண்டிடும் ஷியாமளா பீட்டத்தில் சிம்மம் போல் நீ அமரும் காட்சிகள் கண்டிட கண்களும் தவம் புரிந்து தினம் ஏங்குதே பொற்பாதம் புவி தொட்டு நான் மாட வீதிகளில் உலாவும் முன்னோடு நடந்திட எங்கள் கால்களும் ஏங்குதே பசி போக அமுதளித்து வைகை நதி தந்து வீட்டுக்கு மண் சுமந்து நீ புரிந்த லீலை எல்லாம் நினைக்கும் போதே பக்தியில் உள்ள மீண்டும் மீண்டும் வேண்டும் என்று ஏங்கிடுமே மதுரையின் அரசே மதுரையின் அரசே மதுரையின் அரசே மதுரையின் அரசே மீண்டும் வந்து இந்த புவியினை ஆண்டிடும் மதுரையின் அரசே மதுரையின் அரசே மதுரையின் அரசே எங்கள் தீர நீ எங்களை காத்திடவே நாள்தோறும் உனக்காக காத்து நின்றோம்
மூவேந்தராண்ட ராஜாங்கம் நம் தமிழ்நாடு என்னும் பேராகும் தென்பாண்டி மன்னன் அரசாங்கம் அது நான் மாடக்கூடல் நகராகும் மதுரையிலே நதி வைகையிலே கரை அமர்ந்தாள் என்னை மீனாட்சி மதுரை என்றாலும் மனதில் கொண்டாலும் சிவனார் அருள்வாரது நீதி 64 திருவிளையாடல் இறைவன் நடத்திய அருள் பூமி சிவகங்கை என்னும் சீமையிலே வந்த சமஸ்தானம் கொண்ட பொறுப்பினிலே சீர்மேவும் மதுரை பதியினிலே நல்ல சிறப்போங்கும் ஆசி வீதியிலே சிவதலமோ அதன் நடுவினிலே, சிவலிங்கமோ அருள் வடிவினிலே, சிவமே என்போர்க்கும் தவமே கொண்டோர்க்கும் ஜெயமே தருவான் நம சிவமே. இம்மையிலும் நன்மை தருவார் என்றே தொழுவோம் தொழுவோம் அவன் பாதமே. இடுகாடு காக்கும் சிவனாண்டி அவன் நாடாள வந்த ஒரு சேதி, அறியாத பிள்ளை யாரோடி அவன் அரசோச்சி நின்ற தென்பாண்டி. பாண்டி மகள் என அவதரித்து ஆண்டு வந்தாள் அன்னை மீனாட்சி. தாண்டவன் சிவனை ஆண்டிட அவளே தீயன மூண்டாள் படை நடத்தி. நீரிடும் பூமுகம் நேரிடை பார்த்ததும் நூலிடை மெலிந்தாள் அழகு பதுமையே. ராஜாதிராஜனானாலும் அவன் குடி வாழும் அடிமை என்றாலும், சிவ பூஜை வேண்டும் என்னாலும் அது மறை வேதம் சொன்ன சொல்லாகும். மதுரையிலே இன்று மன்னவனாய் கைலை மலை தலைவன் நின்றான். தனக்கென தானே ஆலயம் கண்டு தனையே பணிந்தான் சிவபெருமான். பொன்னே தந்தாலும் பொருளே வந்தாலும் இறைவனை மறப்பது சரியாகுமா? நடுவூரில் நின்ற ஒரு தெய்வம், அது நலம் வாழ வைக்கும் சிவரூபம். எம்மையிலும் நன்மை தரும் தெய்வம், அது தென் மதுரை நின்ற குல தெய்வம். சிவமயமே என் அருகினிலே, மனபயமோ நான் அறிந்ததில்லை. ஓம் நம சிவாய ஓம் நம சிவாய ஹர ஹர சிவ சிவ அது வேதம். மறுஜென்மம் கொண்டாலும் மனக்குறை தந்தாலும் மறவேன் மறவேன் சிவன் நாமமே. செந்தூரம் கொஞ்சம் மதிவதனம், அதை சிறு நேரம் காண பேரின்பம். சிவனாரின் நெஞ்சம் அவள் மஞ்சம், அந்த சிவகாமி பாதம் நான் தஞ்சம். பொதிகையிலே மலைச்சாரலிலே தமிழானாள் சங்கம் மூன்றாகி. மனதினில் நின்றாடும் மங்கையர் கொண்டாடும் மங்கள நாயகி மகமாயி. ஓம் சக்தி ஓம் என்று ஒரு முறை அழைத்தால் அருள்வாள் அருள்வாள் மத்தியபுரி தாயி. திரிபுரம் எரித்த சடையாண்டி, அவன் ஒரு புறம் வாழ்வது சிவகாமி. திரிபுர சுந்தரி அருள் வேண்டி அவள் திரிசூலம் சுற்று பலன் கோடி. மத்தியபுரி தாய் என்றாகி மலை வேம்பென முளைத்தாள் தலமோங்கி. நடுவூர் நின்றாலும் நாயகி என்றாலும் நலமுடன் வைப்பாள் வைதேகி. தாயே என்றாலும் தயவே என்றாலும் வருவாள் வருவாள் உனது வீடேறி. பரசுகம் தரும் சிவம் என்று இங்கு முனிவரும் மூவரும் வேண்டி நிற்பார். இது ஒரு அதிசயம், சிவன் இங்கு தன்னை சிவலிங்கம் வைத்து பூஜை செய்தார். இம்மையிலும் நன்மை தரும் என்னும் திருநாமம் தன்னை சூட்டிக் கொண்டார். சிவனுடல் நின்றே சிவசக்தி என்றே அன்னையும் எழுந்தாள் அவனுடனே. ஈசனின் பெருமை பேசிட நான் இங்கு பிறவியும் கொண்டேன், அதில் சுகமே. மார்கழி அஷ்டமி பிரதட்சணம் வரும் ஆசி மாதம் பிரம்மோற்சவம். ஐப்பசி நாளில் கோலாட்டம் நல்ல பிரதோஷ வேளை கொண்டாட்டம். சித்திரையில் ஒரு உற்சவமாம் வரும் பக்த சனங்களே அலைகடலாம். சிவ சிவ என்றாலும் ஒரு முறை கண்டாலும் நலமென வைப்பது சிவகுணமே. ஆலயம் போகாது பேரருள் கூடாது, அறிவோம் அறிவோம் துயர் விடுமே. ஏகதயாநிதி ஈஸ்வரனாம் நம்மை ஈன்றவள் சூருக்கு காவலனாம். சாஸ்வதமானவன் ஈஸ்வரனாம் நம் சாகச செயலுக்கு மூலவனாம். சிவபெருமான் யுக சுகம் தருவான், வழியுரைத்து நல்ல வரம் தருவான். சன்னதி வந்தோர்க்கு நிம்மதி தந்தாலும் ஈசனை நேசனை போற்றிடுவோம். நடனசபேசன் திருவருள் நாடி நடப்போம் நடப்போம் மதுரை பதி தேடி. நஞ்சுண்டநாதர் சிவன் போற்றி, அந்த சந்தியா காலத்து சனி போற்றி. நவசந்தி தாண்டவ குரு போற்றி, அந்த மகா பிரதோஷ நாள் போற்றி. தேய்பிரையில் அந்த வளர்பிரையில் தேடிச் சென்றால் அருள் கூடிடுமே. நர்த்தனம் காட்டும் ஆடிய பாதம் திருமுகம் கண்டால் நலந்தானே. தேடிடும் கண்களில் ஆடிடும் பாதம் தெரியும் தெரியும் இது நிஜமே. கனலென மூழ்வது சிவன் தேகம், பெரும் கருணைக்கு ஈடு அவனாகும். ஐந்தென ஆனது பிரதோஷம், நல்ல சுபிட்சத்தை அருள்வது பிரதோஷம். பௌர்ணமியில் சிவ பூஜை செய்தால் சிவனவனின் அருள் நம்மை சேரும். ரிஷபத்தில் தோன்றும் ஈஸ்வரன் கோலம் பார்த்திட கூடிடும் சந்தோஷம். திருநீரு பூசி திரிசூலம் தாங்கி இறைவன் அருள்வான் கோடி வரமேந்தி. திருக்கோவில் வாசல் முன் தோன்றும் அந்த நந்தி தேவன் அருள் வேண்டும். பிரதோஷ காலம் வரும் நேரம் அவன் திருவருள் யாவும் கை கூடும். எம் பெருமான் வரும் வாகனமே, எப்பொழுதும் நம் துணை வருமே. முன் நின்று நந்தியின் காதினில் கூறிடும் செய்திகள் சிவனது செவி சேரும். இம்மையில் நலம் தரும் சிவனது அருளால் எடுத்த செயல் யாவும் ஏற்றம் பல காணும். போற்றி அந்த தேவாதி தேவன் அடி போற்றி திருவண்ணாமலை அருள் போற்றி அங்கு தெரிகின்ற ஜோதி சுடர் போற்றி தில்லையிலே திருச்சபையினிலே நடம் புரியும் அருள் சிவம் போற்றி ஐந்தெனும் மந்திரம் அதனுள் நின்றிடும் கனக சபாபதி இறை போற்றி காசி விஸ்வேஸ்வரன் தரிசனம் கண்டால் மங்களம் மங்களம் மக்கள் மனைவாழி
प्रशक्यशालिने नमो वयं वै श्रवणाय कुर्महे रामे कामाय मह्यं कामेश्वरो वै श्रवणो ददातु कुबेराय वैष्णवाय महाराजाय नमः
சனடி போற்றி சிவன் சேவடி போற்றி நேயத்தே நின்றறிமலனடி போற்றி பிறப்பருக்கும் மன்னனடி போற்றி சீரார் பெரும் துறையிடம் தேவனடி போற்றி ஆராத இன்பம் அருளும் மலை போற்றி ஈசனே சிந்தை கவனம் நேசனே நீ வருவாய் ஒடு கனிகளை கொண்டு உன்னை பூஜித்தோ அருள் தருவாய் கலி என்னும் கடலினில் மூழ்கிட்டு என்று நீ கரம் வந்து காத்திட்டு கருணை பொய்கையில் அலர்ந்திட்ட அலவர்க்கம் போல உன் திருவடியில் வாழ்ந்திட நிற்கிறேன் வாராய் அருணாச்சலனே நீ வாராய் அகண்ட ஜோதியனே வாராய் அல்லல் நீக்கிடவே வாராய் அகிலம் போற்றுகின்ற ஈசனே சிந்தை கவரும் நேசனே நீ வருவாய் ஒடு கனிகளை கொண்டு பூஜித்தோ அருள் தருவாய் வெயிலில் வில்வமும் நிறையா கடல் நீர் குடியோடு தரிசனம் அருளவா செம்பொன்மாட சிற்றவை தனிலே சிந்தை கவர்ந்த உன்னை சிக்கன பிடித்தேனே வந்தும் புகழ் பெறும் நான் வரை நாயகா மதியில் நிறைந்திடுவாய் மதி உணராதவர்க்கு மதி உணர் செய்திட நீ அறவாடிட சூழ்ந்திட சேர நீ வருவாய் அகம் நந்திட புறம் மகிழ்ந்திட புலித்தோலோடு நீ வருவாய் विमुक्ति कारणे नादिकेश दिव्य ब्रह्म रूपने मीनाक्षि शक्ति सहित सुंदरेशने अन्नामलै उदित नित्यानंदने चित्त अचित्त मुन्नाले इयक्कुम मुन्नाले उन्दन कण्णाले सिगैयिल अणित्तिट्ट मदियाले मदियिन मொழியாலே தெளிந்திடும் வழியாலே ஜீவன் முக்தி பெற விழைந்தோமே உந்தன் திருவடியை தொழுதோமே வெள்ளியாகினாய் கேள்வியாகினாய் கேள்வி காண பதிலுமாகினாய் ஒளியாகினாய் உலகமாகினாய் அதுமாகி அருள்படை தரும் கர்ம விதைகள் தீர்க்கும் காசிநாதனே எங்கள் கர்வம் போக்கி எம்மையாளும் நேசனே ஏகாந்தமாக ஏக பாதம் தூக்கியே எங்கும் அடியாரை காக்க வேண்டும் நித்யநந்தனே ஈசனே சிந்தை கவர வந்த நேசனே நீ வருவாய் உன்னையே கதிகல சரணடையும் உன்னையே காத்திடவா அருணாச்சலனே நீ வாழாய் அகண்ட ஜோதியலே வாழாய் அகிலம் போற்றிடவே வாழாய் நித்யானந்தனே
ஓடி 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 உட்கலந்த ஜோதியை நாடி 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 நாட்களும் கழிந்து போய் வாடி 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 மாண்டு போன மாந்தர்கள் கோடி 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 எண்ணிறந்த கோடியே ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய 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 என்னிலே இருந்த ஒன்றை யானறிந்ததில்லையே என்னிலே இருந்த ஒன்றை யானறிந்து கொண்டடின் என்னிலே இருந்த ஒன்றை யாவர் காண வல்லரோ என்னிலே இருந்திருந்து யான் உணர்ந்து கொண்டேனே ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய 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 ஆனதேது நீயதேது நடுவில் நின்றதேதடா போனதேது புருவதேது போரிடும் குலாமரே ஆனதேது அழிவதேது அப்புறத்தில் அப்புறம் ஈனதேது ராம 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 வென்ற நாமமே ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய 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 அஞ்செழுத்திலே பிறந்து அஞ்செழுத்திலே வளர்ந்து அஞ்செழுத்தை ஓதுகின்ற பஞ்சபூத பாவிகாள் அஞ்செழுத்தில் ஓரெழுத்து அறிந்து கூற வல்லிரே அஞ்சல் அஞ்சல் என்று நாத நம்பலத்தில் ஆடுவே ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய 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 இடது கண்கள் சந்திரன் வலது கண்கள் சூரியன் இடக்கை சங்கு சக்கரம் வலக்கை சூழமான் மழு எடுத்த பாத நீழ்முடி எண்டை செய்யும் அப்புறம் உடல் கலந்து நின்ற மாயம் யாவர் காண வல்லரே ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய 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 வெளியுமல்ல ஒன்றை மேவி நின்றதல்ல மறுவுமல்ல காதமல்ல மற்றதல்ல அற்றதல்ல பெரியதல்ல சிறியதல்ல போதுமாவிதானுமல்ல அரியராகி நின்ற நேர்மையாவர் காண வல்லரே ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய 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 மண்கலம் கவிழ்ந்த போது வைத்து வைத்தடுக்குவார் பெண்கலம் கவிழ்ந்த போது வேடும் என்று வேணுவார் நம் கலம் கவிழ்ந்த போது நாரும் என்று போடுவார் பெண் கலந்து நின்ற மாயம் என்ன மாயம் ஈசரே ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய
அகிலமும் அகண்டமும் ஆனவஞ்செழுத்துளே ஆதியான மூவரும் ஆனவஞ்செழுத்துளே அகாரமும் மகாரமும் ஆனவஞ்செழுத்துளே அடங்கலாவலுற்றதே. ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய. நினைப்பதொன்று கண்டிலேன் நீயலாது வேறில்லை நினைப்புமாய் மறப்புமாய் நின்ற மாய்கை மாய்கையை அனைத்துமாய் அகண்டமாய் அநாதி முன்னநாதியாய் எனக்குள் நீ உனக்குள் நான் இருக்குமாறு எங்கனே. ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய. பண்டு நான் பறித்தெறிந்த பன்மலர்கள் எத்தனை பாழிலே ஜெபித்து விட்ட மந்திரங்கள் எத்தனை பிண்டராய் திரிந்த போது இறைத்த நீர்கள் எத்தனை வீழவும் சிவாலயங்கள் சூழ வந்ததெத்தனை. ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் 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 ஓம். சிவ 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 Shiva, 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 Shiva. Shivaya Om, Om Namah Shivaya, Om Namah Shivaya Om, Om Namah Shivaya. அவ்வெனும் எழுத்தினால் அகண்டம் ஏழுமாகினாய் உவ்வெனும் எழுத்தினால் உருத்தரித்து நின்றனை மவ்வெனும் எழுத்தினால் மயங்கினார்கள் வையகம் அவ்வும் உவ்வும் அவ்வுமாய் அமர்ந்த தேசி. சிவ 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 சிவ. ஓம் நமச்சிவாயமே உட்கலந்து நிற்குமே. ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் நமச்சிவாய ஓம் ஓம் நமச்சிவாய. Shiva, Shiva, Shiva. செயலின் ஆலும் நிகழ்வின் தகைமையாலும் வந்திருப்பது யார் என்று அறிமுகம் செய்து கொள்ளும் வழக்கம் உடையவன் மீனாட்சி சுந்தரேச இறையனார். வார்த்தைகளால் அறிமுகம் செய்து கொள்ளும் வழக்கம் இயலாதவன் காட்டும் நிகழ்வின் தகைவினாலும் செயலின் செம்மையாலும் ஆரென்று அறிமுகம் செய்து கொள்ளுகின்றோம். ஓம் சிவ சிவ சிவ.
வைத்தேனே பாட்டும் நானே பாவமும் நானே பாடும் உன்னை நான் பாட வைத்தேனே பாட்டும் நானே பாவமும் நானே கூட்டின் முறையும் காட்டும் என்னிடம் கதை சொல்ல வந்தாயோ கூட்டும் இசையும் கூட்டின் முறையும் காட்டும் என்னிடம் கதை சொல்ல வந்தாயோ பாட்டும் நானே பாவமும் நானே பாடும் உன்னை நான் பாட வைத்தேனே பாட்டும் நானே பாவமும் நானே அசையும் பொருளில் இசையும் நானே அசையும் பொருளில் இசையும் நானே ஆடும் கலையின் நாயகன் நானே அசையும் பொருளில் இசையும் நானே ஆடும் கலையின் நாயகன் நானே எதிலும் இயங்கும் இயக்கம் நானே எதிலும் இயங்கும் இயக்கம் நானே என் இசை நின்றால் அடங்கும் உலகே அசைந்தால் அசையும் அகிலம் எல்லாமே அறிவாய் மனிதா நான் அசை